Yeah, not like that.
That may need some repairs, but is
Not-
not a brutalist building. Granted, to each their own on architecture styles. All right, so why don't we begin? We'll accept the donations. We'll do the town manager's report. We'll go into our first order of business, which is sort of bringing back from the goal setting session the other week, and then we'll start our business around, our other business around 7:30 with just a whole host of committee and commission appointments. Well, do you want to do the donations?
Sure. I move that we accept with gratitude the donations as listed on our agenda for June 15th, 2026 under item B. Or do you want me to do them all individually?
Hold on, I also realized I did not confirm WinCam. Are we all set? I was so distracted by the architecture that this is Monday, June 15th select board meeting. I'm Chair Anthea Brady, joined by Vice Chair Bill McGonigal and members Mike Betancourt, Michelle Pryor, Paris Bayani, our town manager, Chris Senior. And now we'll go back to acceptance of donations. You can just read them each individually, like one of them.
Sure. Number one being to accept a grant of $6,660 from Beth Israel Lahey Hospital to the Council on Aging for the hire of a healthcare navigator for monthly clinics for Mandarin-speaking patrons program.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. The second being to accept with gratitude a donation of $5,074.43 from the Mystic Valley Public Health Coalition to the Health Department for the Winchester Coalition for a Safer Communities Youth Substance Abuse Programming.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. The third being to accept with gratitude donations totaling $1,350 from Julie Hammond of the Winchester Cooperative Bank and Diane Eliopoulos of Winchester Savings Bank to the Recreation Department to be deposited into the Packer Ellis Tennis Courts donation/gift account.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. The fourth being to accept with gratitude a grant of $27,900 from the Department of Energy and Environmental Affairs Division of Conservation Services to the Conservation Commission to complete tasks related to the acquisition of Forest Ridge.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. The fifth being to accept with gratitude a EEC stabilization grant of $13,720 for the Recreation Department Kid Connection/RAP EEC childcare license for the month of June 2026.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
The sixth and final to accept a donation of $2,050 from the, I assume it's, it should be ENCA Society, Inc. To the Recreation Department towards the concerts on the Common and Light/Sound Tech for the Battle of the Bands.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, so moving in, we did receive the comptroller's report. Feel free to send questions through to Stacy. I think we're all clearly more interested in the next comptroller's report, which is the fiscal year-end report. But if you have any questions for her, you can pass those through. So the first order of business that we wanted to do is just recap.
Are you jumping over me?
I am, because
Okay.
I have had a day. Go for it, Chris.
No, if you want to.
Thank you. No. Go ahead.
So you, first, I made a slightly different format, so if any of you just want to give me feedback, I put a first page on. It just has all the action items, and then I tweak some of the internals. So if you have any thoughts, let me know. A couple of quick highlights. We're going to be having some candidates for fire promotions coming up in a soon meeting coming up. Met two folks for lieutenant, one for captain. They're great. Looking forward to having them on. I met with the Winchester Hospital President Stephen Chandler, both in person at the hospital, and he actually dropped, and after being told by our comptroller that they always pay late, or right at the end, he actually physically brought the pilot checks with him last Friday with his COO. So we had a very nice conversation. He also brought me the 100th anniversary book and a nice little note. So we got the pilot payments all done. Stacy took them right out of my hand and processed them immediately. So that's all done. But we had a nice conversation. I think he's new. He's only been there for a couple of months. He and his wife and kids are going to live in Winchester. That's their hope. So it was great conversation. Great to meet him. And we're actually working to set up a pilot payment meeting for the future. So I'll keep you all involved. Just let me know how you want to move forward with that. Late breaking news today, the town's AAA bond rating was affirmed by Moody's. We didn't even have to do a call. It was great. So that was great. I want to thank everybody on the financial team, particularly Stacy and her team, and Ann and her team. It was a great conversation to pull out materials together. So that's all good. Had a busy last week too. Went to Rotary, spoke at Rotary, met a lot of other folks. I keep seeing people wearing different hats at all these events. So it was a great conversation. Went to the Pride event that evening. That was also a nice event. Though it had gotten hotter between the afternoon and the evening. So Kayla stayed in the office for that one. And I actually got to my first farmer's market on Saturday, which was also a great event. And I saw the librarian staff both times. So I thanked them for their service. They were getting roasted in the sun on Thursday night, but they had a much better table on Saturday morning, so they were much more comfortable. So those are the highlights on that. And there's a couple of project updates, which are all in here. I think everyone's probably seen, if you play baseball or softball, the new backstops and fencing that have gone up around town. That's the first phase of that project is kind of wrapping up. See, where's the final piece? It's McDonald Field. That's supposed to be happening this week. Those rotary striping that's going to be coming up at the Quill Rotary, that's something that's been a long saga, I believe, but the date should be scheduled soon. And there's going to be some interim work at Sims Corner. So we're going to try something that kind of grew out of the snow and also some work by the engineering team. So that'll go into effect hopefully within the next few weeks. And we'll see how that works. There's still a bigger project that we're trying to get funded. We have a design work, but the state might be able to accelerate the work on that project more quickly. So Matt Schumann is working on that piece. So if there's any questions, that's what I got.
Is the Quill Rotary striping, is that just the loading zones, or will there be additional
I think it's the loading zones primarily. I'll follow with Bob.
Because I was looking back, and maybe we can just follow up, because I was looking back to the vote that was taken on that, which was to do the loading zones, but then also some additional clarification of.
He has the whole packet of stuff, so yeah, I'll double check on it.
Okay.
So I'm not quite sure why it didn't happen last year. Now that I know, it's good.
I've got a few questions, but I'll let somebody else go if they want. Okay. Pilot payment, that expires June 30?
This current pilot expires. They never pay until the end of the year, but it does expire June 30th. This 3-year pilot. Yeah.
Okay. So
And they're aware.
are we going to go with a proposal back to them? Or is there a meeting going to happen in June?
Well,
I don't know if we've ever negotiated them after the end of the fiscal year. I just was a part of one that maybe we had an agreement in terms before June 30, but.
Doesn't seem to. I don't know if that's necessary. Again, I don't know the past practice here. The agreement does have to be approved by this board at some point. They tend not to pay until later in the season anyway, so it's not like we're going to be missing any money.
If we don't have a new agreement, they pay taxes, right?
No, they don't pay anything.
No, they never pay taxes. We should certainly give them our ask before the end of the fiscal year.
That's fine.
To
We
at
could,
least date stamp that we want to renew, and we have a number that we want them to meet.
I'm happy to do whatever the past practice or the modified practice of the board
I
is.
would suggest, for a select board, just conceptually, it might make sense to have, I think it can qualify under the real estate session exemption, maybe, I think it can, and just have the board weigh in on a number and a negotiating strategy. Is that kind of, Michelle, what you're getting at?
Yeah, last time it was just the chair and the manager, and we had 2 or 3 meetings with the hospital, but we took what we had, we increased it, we asked for a number, there was a fallback negotiation, but it still, I think, grew by 2.5% each year, so we should certainly have a stake in the ground.
I think that we had kind of identified.
We can strategize on it, that'd be great.
Yeah, I think we had identified a representative, to that, right? And I think that just happened to be you last time, Michelle.
Yep.
And so.
Because it was Rich, and then I think I just.
Yeah, and I think historically, in the past, we've kind of come with our requests, and then they kind of have come with yours. So since Leahy's taken over, they've been a little bit more interested in how the money is spent and putting restrictions on it. And so they kind of gave us a background on what they were doing in other communities, Burlington and everything. And so, you know, I think we had kind of negotiated with them to spend certain amounts on, you know, kind of together on, like, you know, shared interests
Yeah.
around, you know, whether it be something like the
Social
Jake Center.
workers,
Right,
training,
exactly.
coalition funding.
I think
Maybe-
one year we did, you know, some things for the police that also helped, you know, enforcement over there at the hospital. So I think it's worthwhile to see, but we should be getting an increase, to your point as well.
So maybe Patty can pull up for us what we did last time, if you would have that.
I have the agreement, it's not very big.
Oh, okay.
It's only 2 pages,
It
but
is.
we can circulate it, so.
Yeah, I think,
for
I
sure.
think that would be good, and then we can, Chris, you and I can take a look at it.
Sure.
See where we're gonna go with it. We do need to, maybe we can strategize on that before the 29th, and then bring that back with a,
Sure.
Yeah, I think that we had discussed, you know, even, maybe not socialize too much, you know, but even if there was something for WinCam that we could share and, you know, offsetting expenses for them for that amount of money, maybe that would be a good use of it, as well, seeing it as, you know,
So,
just discretionary.
As a brief, this is just the breakdown from last year. And they gave us 3 checks.
Yeah.
And the first check is for the general fund.
Right.
The second check is the largest, is for the community benefits programs payment. So like that basically paid for the social worker over
Yes.
at the police department and some different programs over at the Jenks Council on Aging. And the third check went to the select board gift fund.
thank you.
Yeah, so a smaller part of it was kind of discretionary than had been our practice in prior years. But, you know, it still met our objectives because we needed the position, right?
Okay. So that was one question, and I only had 2, I think. Related to the tree, and I thank you for the update on 612 Main, Chris, because I'd reached out last week. What is the process when DPW posts for a tree removal and conducts a tree hearing? What is that process, and is there an appeal period? Like, what's the timing on this?
So I've asked before they actually post the tree that, because it's gonna be more complicated than just taking the tree down. They have to rebuild the sidewalk.
Yep.
We don't necessarily have the internal expertise to redo the bricks by the Thai restaurant. The tree is kind of impede, you know, it's causing some
I was
challenges.
there on Friday.
I walk by it
Check
regularly.
personally.
I've walked by it regularly. So what'll have to, so once Bob tells me we have that lined up, what has to happen, the tree gets posted for a hearing, it'll be over at Public Works. If anybody objects, it becomes an appeal to this board. I've vowed to, so hopefully that will not happen, but it could. If it doesn't, they'll take the tree down. The only way to go around it is in an emergency, and it's not, I don't really know this considers, this is an emergency, it's not gonna fall on anybody.
It's a disability access issue, which is what brought it to my attention. And certainly before the snow falls, I can't imagine it was very easy to navigate when there was, you know, narrower sidewalks everywhere. But I think anybody in a wheelchair or even pushing something would have a hard time getting by it. So I'm not sure it's an emergency, it's not gonna fall on anybody, but it's making it hard to traverse.
Well, no, what I'm saying is that there's a process now to get rid of it. So we explored not getting rid of it, right? I asked them to look at, can they cut the roots back or something like that? But the arborist said, if you do that, because the tree leans, it'll just make it much more likely to, it'll just fall into the road, which would not be a good idea. So it's got to come down. So once, like I said, once they have the contractors lined up in the work, then they'll post. So again, if nobody objects and there's a public hearing, there's no objection, then it'll, you know, but someone could effectively appeal to the select board, because you're the keep, I don't know if you're the keeper of the trees, I have no idea quite, you're the Lorax of Winchester.
Keeper of the
so,
streets, anyway. Okay.
And again, if you walk around, I don't want to make this more of an issue, if you walk around downtown, there's other areas that are a little bit wobbly, so, but this one is more, I noticed even this winter, and there was nothing we could do, right, till the weather got better, and then it had an arborist go out and all that. So it's a process, but I'll let you know what happens. That should happen, I hope, in the next few weeks of the posting, so.
Yeah, maybe once that posting is up, you can share
I'll
it with us.
Yeah, I'll let you know what's going on. And hopefully no one will appeal, but.
So now I have speed it up like 3 times and we'll actually, in fact, get back to where we were in terms of talking about the goal setting session and sort of doing a little recap of that, as well as thinking of where we're going next with it. Let's give, so up to 30 minutes, depending on what we want to talk about, where we're at. You have in the packet a summary of the notes that we had up there, which were our 4 big areas of what we wanted to accomplish, which were fiscal management, good government and teamwork, housing, including the Affordable Housing Trust Housing Partnership was kind of highlighted there, efficiency around that, and then customer services, residents, and EODB, something of doing business.
Ease of doing business.
Ease of doing business, thank you. I was like, it's not the executive office of
World
doing
Bank
business.
acronym, sorry.
Yeah. And then following that, we have kind of the things that we talked about under each of those. So what our sort of big things were for, I'm sort of recapping this in case anyone wants to tune in and watch it. I know you all have this in front of you, but so for fiscal management at balance and stewardship, we talked about revenue. So from grants, local receipts, new growths, earmarks, and state and federal money, expenses, regionalization, school and town efficiency, procurement, and school and town fiscal controls, and then processes, long-term planning, and annual budget fiscal processes. Under good government and teamwork, we brainstormed some ideas of things that we could do that kind of just create a better structure. So having, facilitating a meeting of all of the chairs of all of the boards in town, a town manager, executive board member, I'm not recalling what we had there. Doing some more trainings, like we did the open meeting law training the other night, talking about what trainings that we're also able to attend around MMA, getting a little bit in a practice of doing a memo around our position on town meeting articles and priorities that goes out to town meeting members, which if you'll see, we've highlighted the dates of town meeting up on the calendar, so just to kind of keep fresh in our mind what the timeline is for that. Getting some more routine updates from the other boards and committees, particularly sort of the big ones that come up a lot, just so that we understand what they're working on, and then keeping our volunteer base alive, so both in recruiting, and Chris had some really nice ideas around volunteer appreciation activities.
But the town manager, executive board members, having the town manager help onboard new members to the elected executive boards.
Oh, thank you. So for affordability and housing, we talked about having a quantitative goal, select board considerations around taxpayer funds like the CPA, I think it's building and planning fees, select board housing fund, and the AHT, the trust. Consideration of connecting housing decisions to the planning documents that we have, how that's communicated, how we communicate our support of LIPS from the housing partnership, housing production plan or the master plan, and then teamwork and communication, so coordination around ZBA planning, having some more specific updates and kickoff meetings when there's big things that we've been involved in that then are going out to other boards. And then in terms of customer service, which I think was really, as we talked about it, like one of the bigger ones that we were interested in, was having situations where there's like a single window or point of contact for things, e-government, digital service delivery, just really coordinating on that. Simplifying, why did we write so many acronyms? SPR.
Because you let me take notes.
Bobby, what
Site
was
plan,
there?
site plan review,
Plan review, thank you. BP is building and planning.
building permit fees.
Building permit fees, inspections. And then economic development, so any potential bid resources and technology and process that can,
That's the business improvement district.
I've got that
I think resources was a separate.
yeah. So those were the things that we talked about in that session that were really like the top priorities at the time. I don't know, if folks had time to think about this, if there is anything that came up that we just plumb forgot about that night. I know, Bill, you weren't there, so if there's anything, any big areas that you'd like to see us add to that. And then what we discussed as a next step really was then we got to go down a level on each of these things. So prioritize kind of what's next, what do we want to do within that, what is actually, create some goals, what's achievable, what are feasible within there. Then the one other thing I'll add is what we didn't really get to. We sort of focused on like the sort of the things that we do and that we provide, but what we didn't really get to was like what is our way of doing business and sort of board norms and practices and things like that. That was probably a next up on the docket. So I'll stop talking now and let others weigh in for a few minutes.
Are you thinking norms is a different conversation or part of the next conversation? Like,
What do
is
you mean by
norms, you said select board norms and procedures, not as a goal, but just as a way of doing business? Is that just a different agenda item next time we take this up versus diving into those now? Because I don't know that norms drive the goals, right? The norms are how we conduct our business and potentially how we might prioritize, but.
Right. That's not that's,
They're different. They're distinct, I think.
yeah.
To
That
understand
was just,
where are we
didn't-
covering it or.
Right, it's just not something that we got to the
Right.
other night when we did the goal setting session, but I think when we kind of talked about it ahead of time, it was actually something that came up as would be valuable to do and would sort of fit into this style of goal setting or what we wanted there. So I don't think that is, I'm not suggesting we shouldn't talk about it now, we should do it at a separate time. I'm just saying that's
It could
not
have
something
gone
we
under
got
the
to.
good government teamwork one, but all of the things that were discussed were not intra-select board norms.
Yeah.
So it would have to be added, or it's a distinct discussion. I thought it was a good discussion. I think the board got a lot of these ideas out on the table. It seemed extremely comprehensive. I think that, what I would recommend to the board here, and I'm happy to work with, Anthea or Chris or Michelle on this, is to try to turn this into a little bit of like what was in the original logic model from last year, which is, there's kind of a laundry list of things. What are some near-term things that can be done, or even long-term things can be done, and how do you measure sort of column 2 and column 3, and then it's probably for the board to prioritize, call it a third or half of the list, which would be a second conversation.
Yeah, I'm happy to work with you on that. I think that's the right next step, and maybe if the board is comfortable with that, taking it back, working on that, and then bringing it back to this group to review and think through what we do with those goals, with those sort of short, medium, long, how they work.
I like the logic model format, as you know. I think single point of contact, e-government, maybe even building permits, but certainly e-government digital service, there's definitely some inputs that we need to get, like what are we doing, how many ways are we delivering? Before we can set the goal, I think we need to understand how many different digital platforms and which things can be simplified, which things could be transacted online. Same with the single window. Are there some workflows that we're trying to streamline? I'm happy to let others work on what those are, but I think we need to make sure we're stepping back a few steps so that we can actually effectuate it because the workflow is right, or that we have the right inputs, or we can set the right goals because we have the data.
I think a lot of that is gonna have to come from departments too, and from Chris, right?
Yep.
You know, I think the policy objective is there, and, but to see what we can do, and if there are additional costs involved, and how we roll those, and if there are savings, right? There's certainly efficiencies for residents, but yeah, I think it'll be, maybe that part of it will be a little bit more in Chris's lane, and also it's good for Chris to be heavily involved in this too, to know what we can do on a certain timeline, because, you know, we can't just throw a bunch of stuff at him and then, you know, in 4 months say, why haven't you done all of these things, right? So so that's part of the objective for us, is to identify some objectives, but Chris to tell us too what can be done.
And, you know, we can really divide that out too. I mean, we can say that e-government and service delivery is like, that's a long-term goal. And there might be some short-term sort of things that we're doing to meet that goal, which are like working with the town manager to get feedback from the department heads by X date, and just sort of rolling it out. It's a little bit, true, it's a little bit out of our hands. It's more our sort of direction and interest in
So
simplifying
if I may, I'll piggyback on that. So that's been a push for the board from the day I started. So I've been having conversations with boards and committees, departments and department heads and members from the beginning. We actually had a big roundtable in this room a couple weeks ago with OpenGov. Yes. And we just presented with a proposal to radically increase, we only have one department that's on e-permitting, right? To change that whole model and open things up. And Stacy mentioned to the department heads the other day about changing some munis practices to try to streamline some of those. So these are all things that are ready to be teed up to start moving on. So I'd be happy to bring some of those back to the board with more concrete examples, because I think those are things we can do first. When we don't, it's hard to measure when we don't have, you know, easily tracked data.
Baselines, yeah.
Yeah, and one of the things that this, again, I don't want to get in depth on this, but one of the nice parts about this software is not just that it works already through buildings, but it actually has dashboarding in it. It can generate all kinds of statistics for us about what's really happening in a way that we can't get easy access to today.
I'm wondering, as you go through that, how can we, and we come down to like short-term, whatever term they're achievable, can we tie those back to the goals we gave Chris in February, March? March? Because dashboards was, I think, one of them.
Yep.
So how do these goals tie into the things you're already tasked with that serve our goals?
Some of these go beyond, obviously, you know, September.
Yeah.
Like, I'd like to bring some of these things. Some of these are going to cost money, so I'm going to come back to you as a
Oh,
group
sure.
to come back to see about going to fall town meeting and saying, let's fund this opportunity, right?
Sorry.
Go ahead. What were you going to say?
I think what might be a really good first step is just to take a look at this list and say what's in our lane and what's not in our lane, so that we can work with Chris on the things that are not in our lane, and then have more control of the things. Like we can have an all chairs meeting, probably not in the summer. I was like trying to pick something that we could do like right away, not in the summertime. But we could have an all chairs meeting in September before town meeting gets started, and, you know, bring everyone together, and then do that as a sort of annual event after the following spring town meeting. Like there are some things that are in our control that we can like both clearly sort of pick out. One I think is on the agenda already for later this evening. And there are other things where we can't do it on our own as a select board. We need to work with the town, provide some direction, and sort of policy intent to the town manager, and work with the town manager to do those. So that might just be a good first step of like, what's here, what's there, how do they overlap?
I would say your first goal is clearly, it's on the agenda later, right? So you're moving on that, right? And that has the board has to set some very clear direction, and then it's gonna be a process that, you're gonna charge me and the rest of the staff with developing. So I think that's already teed up for conversation today, because all of those things kind of, I think, fit in there. So, and we'll come out of that. So you're already moving on that one, so. And like I said on the last one, already moving on that too, the customer service piece. I can most certainly bring you back some specifics and say, here are some things we recommend that you consider, and then you can say yes or no, or maybe this way. So.
Bill, you weren't in the room,
Correct.
so anything that strikes you in kind of the recap or things that you've been thinking about that aren't on here that
I don't think it's
might be a
very
good fit?
fair to you guys to sit here and not having been able to participate because of a professional commitment and not be there when the discussion was happening, because I don't know exactly what was said. I think generally all these goals are good, but I think Mike was the first one to point it out that we do have to be respectful of where the boundaries of a select board lie and where the responsibilities of a town manager begins, or a planning board, or any of the other committees around town. And if we do have another exercise of this nature, I think it really needs to start with the question of what does it mean to be a select board, and what is it that we're supposed to do? Not with specific goals, but just, do we all think that this body has the same mission and the same powers? Because if we all disagree on that, then we're already off in the wrong direction. And then from that flows the question of how we actually conduct our business, which I think is very important and has never been set. And I've seen many other towns that have very set procedures, like first reads and second reads, and all sorts of other things that would make us, I think, better managed internally and externally, and more efficient. But those would be my focuses. I don't know if those were big points of discussion at the retreat, but I would like them to be if we have another one.
Yeah, I think those are good points. We did not, I think just like we kind of telegraphed that in a discussion in end of March, early April, around like having some just standard operating procedures for this board, which goes to like, what does it mean to be a board? And that wasn't, there just wasn't the direction that we went in the other evening. We focused on sort of our big picture, or big umbrella versus the, I don't know what the thing is called that you hold the umbrella with.
The handle?
Yeah.
That's why you get the big bucks.
For everybody who
Lack of
has
a better
joined
word.
this meeting since 7 p.m., I think the heat has finally got to me. Oh my gosh. Jeez. All right.
Keep yourself hydrated.
Yeah, I'm working on it. Any other comments? I mean, we did put about half an hour on for this, so we have 10 more minutes if people want to take it. Otherwise, we'll just move right on, because I believe we have everybody here for, everyone here for the committee and commission appointments.
And I think we're going to be kind of doing another goal-setting session and following up or whatever. So, and really, we were just shooting from the hip and brainstorming a little bit. So it's not like, Bill, your ideas are, didn't get there. This was similar to what we had done in, some of the subject matter was from the previous years. So,
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. And what we have done before is we've done this before our meeting. So we've met at like 5:30 before our meeting started and just had some time to dive into it while we were still fresh, versus like throwing it as our last agenda item and then
Sure.
leaving instead of doing so. So we can also start to think of like, do we want to put some time on the 29th ahead? Maybe even just like do the same with half an hour of looking at if we come back with sort of the Venn diagram of the things on here, things like assigned out to like what's ours, what belongs to town manager, and then Paris mentioned like creating these sort of short, medium, long-term just thoughts around how those goals could go. Have something to digest and work on at the start of the next meeting.
I could come back with some more, just to start fleshing out some of the customer service stuff. I'll send it to you in advance. You can all talk about maybe some objectives that might fall into that one, and maybe, I think you're gonna have those coming up in the conversation you're having later for the first point.
Yep.
So,
Yeah.
and I think those can be more, if they're not clarified tonight, which they very well may be, you can finalize them coming up with that. So those two will, I think, move forward well.
And I think one thing broadly, depending on how we do it, maybe it's once a month in an agenda, but the manager's report to start to reflect on your goals and our goals, like there's, whether it's revenue or efficiencies, but what are we, what's the next step? And we have cemetery fees to still do. When could we expect to see it, so that it's kind of on a quarterly basis, there's progress being made toward things that we've been working on for a few months? Affidavits, for planning board. So as your goals are overlaid to ours, how can we be reporting out with some frequency on what's in the way, what have we learned, this isn't ready for prime time because, I'm not sure the best way to do it, probably in the written report, but maybe we carve some time out toward that. How are we doing and how are you doing? Because I know one of them is like, find more money, so how are we doing? Or find more efficiencies.
All right, well, thank you everyone for the recap. Thank you in advance for bearing with me not knowing the handle of an umbrella. We'll see where we go later. So next up, we have a number of committee and commission appointments to do. We're going to start with the Affordable Housing Trust. We have 4 candidates for 2 positions. Just so everybody is aware, 3 of the candidates are here in the room. The 4th candidate had a conflict, and
She confirmed? I offered to, that we could call her after her class, so I sent her my phone number to send me a text saying yes.
Okay.
So it could be, 9:10, 9:15.
okay.
That we can use that call.
All right. So our 4th candidate will do over the phone, just because she wasn't able to be here in person at the time. So for those of you you are welcome to stay. Carolyn, Brian, and John, you are welcome to stay and hear us talk at 9. You might have something better to do. You can tune in as well later. We'll, ask you all of our questions while you're here in advance, so there won't be any disadvantage to leaving and not waiting it out for, an hour and a half or so. So we will start with Affordable Housing Trust. We have 4 candidates. So Brian, you're first on our agenda. Do you want to come on up? We have everyone's materials. And so why don't you introduce yourself and tell us why you're interested in the Affordable Housing Trust?
Absolutely. Brian Vernelia at 19 Sergeant Road. I won't belabor you. I know all of you personally, but I've lived in town my whole life. I have served in a number of towns, a number of boards in town. Currently, I'm a sitting member of the planning board. I was chair last year. I'm no longer chair. So I guess there's really 2 questions: why me and why me now? I have been fighting for affordable housing in town for a long time. Most notably, you probably noticed me come before your board several times, come before town meeting several times, all for a very small change in our affordable housing requirements for the MBTA 3A overlay district. I spent a lot of time fighting for that because it's important. It's important because we have sort of a gated community in Winchester. If you can't afford to buy $1 million plus house, you can't afford to live here. This is important. Some of us have 20-something-year-old kids. We'd like them to be able to come back to the town. I came back to the town that I was raised in. You'd like your kids to be able to come back, and it's becoming more and more unaffordable. So fighting for affordability, especially on the Affordable Housing Trust, where they actually have the money behind what they do so they can actually affect change, as opposed to some other boards in town who don't have that ability. So I think that's important. The second half of it would be, why me now? Without belaboring the point, we've been through some difficult times with some boards in town, and I think some of that is definitely a lack of communication. Right now, there's 2 policy boards in town that work on affordable housing. That would be the Select Board and the Planning Board. The Select Board has a representative on the Affordable Housing Trust. The Planning Board does not. And there's also a representative of the Housing Partnership Board on the Affordable Housing Trust. I believe that the lack of communication definitely led to some of the unpleasantries that took place and that now seem to be resolved. I'd like to be part of that, both not happening again, but having us all work together. And I think one of the best ways to have us all work together would be actually to have a member of the Planning Board sitting on the Affordable Housing Trust. So that's quick, but you have lots of other people to interview. I'm happy to take questions or whatever you want to do. Thank you.
Thanks, Brian. Questions from the board?
Brian, if you think it's important that the planning board has a seat on the Affordable Housing Trust, would you recommend the bylaw change or the group be expanded to put a seat of the planning board there?
I would, but I'll expand on that. That's extraordinarily complicated to do. In order to change the declaration of the trust, you need all members of the trust to approve it, all members, and you need a majority of this board to approve it. So even one person on the trust says, no, I don't think that's a good idea, it won't happen. So I would argue de facto the only way to have that happen is actually to use one of your appointments to appoint somebody from the planning board. Although, I mean, it's certainly worth considering. I just think that's a pretty, unanimous vote of the Affordable Housing Trust is a high hurdle.
Or any board?
Any board, yeah.
Other questions? Bill, Paris, Mike?
None for me.
Nope.
Thank you.
Thanks, Brian. Carolyn, come on up.
Hello, I'm Carolyn Stout at 2 New Meadows Road. Nice to see you all.
You want to give us a little bit of background on why you're interested in joining the Affordable Housing Trust?
Yeah, sure. So I've been in town for about 16 years. Bought my house as a first-time home buyer in my 20s, and was able to do that. As Brian mentioned, that's no longer possible in this town. I would love to live in a Winchester where we have young people moving in, where our seniors can stay. That's the town I want to see. I would also love to see Winchester be in compliance with Chapter 40B. I think that would be wonderful. But just from a personal standpoint, just would really love to see a more diverse town, and I think diversifying our housing stock is the way to do that. And I think that I have some qualifications and experiences that are a little different than other people on the trust. I spent almost a decade as a realtor in town, have a lot of experience looking at both kind of what's available, what's not available, what are some of the pitfalls that people can get into if, for instance, moving into a condo, suddenly there's all the special assessments, fees go up, things like that, and suddenly something that maybe seemed affordable wasn't, so how do we make sure to take care of that in any affordable housing? I also have current experience working, and I know all of you know me as part of the Climate Action Committee, but working on home electrification and energy efficiency in residential properties. And I actually met with some members of the trust at 160 Forest to kind of do a site walk of that property, walk through how can that property be electrified, what would ballpark cost be, very ballpark, just to kind of give a sense, but what would cost be, what are some of the options, what are some of the considerations to look at in terms of upfront costs versus operating costs going forward. As far as I know, I don't think that kind of experience is on the trust right now. I'd love to bring that. And I think it's really important that any property that we are developing in town is developed in a climate-friendly way, energy efficient, fully electrified when feasible. So I'd love to bring that to the table.
Thank you. Questions from the board?
I know you mentioned how you have a history as a realtor. You were also at Goulston Stores for a number of years too, right?
I've done this, yeah, in my career.
But currently you work for the town of Brookline.
I
right?
do work for the town of Brookline, yeah.
But you've only done that since December of 2025 or so?
December 2026. I've actually only been there 6 months. I was,
Well, December 2026 hasn't
25.
happened yet.
I'm sorry, 25.
So unless you somehow,
It's fine, I don't know how you hold an umbrella.
Yes, I know. What is this
Forget
thing
that
called?
one.
It's getting to everybody.
Yeah, so 6 months there.
sure. How has that experience perhaps informed the way that you would bring yourself to the Affordable Housing Trust?
Yeah, so my job in Brookline is as the town's energy advocate, and that job is doing outreach to residents, specifically residents that are historically underserved by energy efficiency programs. And so my job is outreaching to landlords and renters, low and moderate income residents, and that's a community that is 50% renter, much higher low income than one would expect, much like Winchester's higher low income than I think anyone realizes. So I think, one, I mean, working in a municipality, I got some of just kind of seeing day-to-day operations in a way that I don't see as a town volunteer, but really seeing some of the challenges facing low-income residents, moderate-income residents in Brookline, landlords in Brookline who want to take advantage of energy efficiency programs, who want to make their homes more comfortable, safer, reduce their energy burden, and aren't able to or don't know how to access those kinds of programs. So I think that to the extent that any of that can be brought to the trust, I'd love to bring that.
The trust did just get a $50,000 grant or so for work at 164th Street,
That is
in
fantastic.
conjunction with Mass Saves. Do you know any more out there that we can get?
Yeah, let me, any that I'm not trying to get for Brookline, no.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
That's all
No, but I would, in all seriousness, to answer that question, I would love to look at what that was accessing and what else. I think there's a lot of questions right now about what's going to be available with Mass Save going forward, but, what other grants are out there, what other partnerships are out there that there may be a more creative solution or a different solution that maybe we haven't considered yet as a town.
Okay, that's it for me.
Yeah, thank you very much for applying, and, to that point, I think it's really a great asset for the trust to see through that lens, not just when we're building new affordable units, but when we're looking at the affordability question, especially with our seniors. So when we've had programs in prior years that have funded, some years some haven't, where we've gone in to change old systems in seniors' homes to make them more efficient, and where we all see our bills going up, sometimes and quite often that makes the decision between somebody buying food, buying medication, or paying their energy bills, right? Or living, in a home through the winter, set at 58 degrees, right? So that is a huge asset for us, and something that, as you know, takes a lot of work. Finding grants, being competitive with them, and finding them to apply to the right projects and the right people. So thank you. I think your expertise would be very well suited to the trust, and really would fill a void there for the trust. So thank you very much for your application.
Thank you.
For me?
Thanks, Carolyn.
Okay, thank you very much.
And John, come on up.
I'm John Healy. I live at 41 Grove Street, and I've been a resident for since I think 2016. I raised my family in Central Massachusetts. Before that, I'm retired. Frankly, I am an utter newbie to the process. I was kind of recruited by a former town official to apply. I have been, since about 2019, well, throughout my adult life, but especially since 2019, I've been involved in broader issues of kind of a broader national statewide scope. I've been a postcard host, a volunteer with Swing Blue Alliance. So I've been a postcard host, and phone banking, did some canvassing in Maine and Pennsylvania. Prior to that, I was part of I was a secretary for Massachusetts campaign for single-payer health care for 10 years. After that, I worked for marriage equality, the marriage equality issue, clean elections campaign, and yeah, so why am I volunteering? It's another way to give back, maybe a little bit more locally. And I did run for town meeting member this last year. Came up 13 votes short, but when I ran for state representative back in 2002, another lifetime, I got a third of the vote in the Democratic primary, but I realized that you can't expect voters to vote for you if you don't have any background whatsoever. I mean, I got a third of the vote, but they would have voted for Mickey Mouse, frankly, because they're, it was a vote against the incumbent. So, I will run for town meeting member again, and it's a way to not only contribute to the town in this way, but to gain some credence. But I have unlike our neighbors behind me, I really don't have. I mean, but I'm willing to. You have to start somewhere. I mean, everybody started somewhere at the bottom, and I would have a steep learning curve, but I'm willing to put in the time.
Questions from the board?
I agree with what you said, and thanks for getting involved in terms of starting somewhere and trying to participate. So thank you for that.
Yeah.
And I hope you do run again for town meeting.
Thank you.
Mr. Haley, thank you very much for your application and appreciate all your advocacy around the democratic process and to see you running again for town meeting and be involved. The trust can be very time intensive in certain manners. What is your schedule and availability like to kind of participate during the day for meetings, during the evening, and really be involved? Because a lot of the trust work can be kind of taking and running with a certain project on your own and then coming back to the trust and reporting.
Yep. No, as I mentioned, I am retired. I mean, I am going to be involved in the run-up to the midterms with some other organizing around that. But I do have the bandwidth to take this on, and my understanding is that while in the winter months, Ms. Jones, I spoke with Ms. Jones this afternoon. She said that it is more productive to meet in person, but there is the option to meet via Zoom. Perfectly willing to do that, obviously.
Could you talk a little bit about, I'm looking at your application about, like, there's a question, volunteer committees functions best as teams, and ask for an example of that. Could you talk a little bit about sort of how you've done some consensus building or collaborated with other people and maybe needed to change someone's mind or needed to collaborate in a group that wasn't always on the same page?
Yeah, really, that was the only instance that I can really pull off the top of my head where the congregation just next door here, I drafted that congregational resolution, pro-democracy congregational resolution, and I did have to accommodate sometimes contradictory, requests, and do it as best I could. You can't, what's the phrase? You can fool all of the people some of the time, some of the people all of the time. You can't please all of the people all of the time. So, but I did the best I could.
Thank you. Anyone else? Thanks, John.
Thank you.
So again, the three of you are welcome to stick around. We will probably hang and deliberate after 9:15. Yeah, you're welcome to leave. You can watch us on. You
You should
can
definitely
watch
leave.
us on screen, and Patty will follow up afterwards too.
Ken, Steve's here for interfund borrowing, which is dead last. In case you want to rearrange, I just wanted to flag that for you.
Is that why you're here? No?
Is that not true?
What's that?
You're here for interfund borrowing, correct?
Yes.
Oh,
I just wanted to flag that for you, that we have to at least glance at.
do you want to stay for a whole meeting?
That's a different way to frame the question.
We will finish up the committee and commission appointments, and that's like a very quick item, so we can take that afterwards, so you don't have to stick around through very extended content. Okay, so we'll hold on AHT. We'll come back to that in a little while. So we have Board of
You'll have to
Appeals. We had one application for the alternate position for the Board of Appeals. That was Mark Scott, who we interviewed. I think it was like a couple of months ago now.
It was May
3
20th.
weeks. Yeah.
Oh,
It's on the agenda. And he expressed, we told him that he didn't have to come back for the interview, but he expressed interest in being appointed to the alternate seat. So seeing that we have no new applicants, I will move that we appoint Mark Scott, previously interviewed, to the alternate position on the Board of Appeals.
Second.
okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right. Also, Wildwood Cemetery Advisory Committee, that is, we have an incumbent to reappoint, Alan Iden. He has served for 3 terms, so we would need to waive the 1-year period and reappoint him. There is at least one other open position on that board that has received no applications, so
I move that we waive the 1-year waiting period for Alan.
We have to make a finding first. The policy requires us to find that there's no other reasonable alternative candidate.
Okay.
So,
I move that we find there is no other reasonable candidate on the basis that we have a vacancy that has been sitting there for a year.
second.
okay. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay. Now, if you
I
would like
move that we
that motion.
waive the 1-year waiting period and reappoint Alan Iden to his seat on the Cemetery Advisory Committee.
Second.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And we have 2 candidates. So next is the Raylock Farm Conservancy, Fred Huber and Dana Carlson. So we'll have, just in the order on my agenda, we'll have Fred come on up first. So this is for a position that will expire October 31st, 2026. So whoever is appointed to this position will be asked at the expiration period if you're interested in being reappointed. I know it's a fairly short period. So welcome, Fred. Thanks for applying. To introduce yourself, your name, your address, and then why you're interested in the position.
Sure. Well, thank you. My name's Fred Huber. I live at 14 Plymouth Road. Been in Winchester almost 20 years now, and up on Plymouth Road for 17, 18 of that. Interested in the farm. If you guys know the town well, Plymouth Road is right around the corner. The farm's been a huge part of my life since moving to Winchester. Apart from spending, almost every day there, walking my dogs. My children have volunteered at the farm, worked at the farm. I've volunteered at the farm, worked at the farm. It's just a very special place to me. In terms of my interests, I was made aware by a good friend of mine, Sneha Patel, who's current president of the board at Right Lock, of a potential opportunity. Spoke with her about it just in terms of what was going on at the farm and, what it is that they might be looking for in terms of new board members, and thought it could be a fit. So, by way of background, I've worked in financial services for about 28 years. So, Currently work for a company called Capital Group Companies, based in LA, for the last 15 years, but prior to that, I was with State Street here in Boston. So, in terms of what I feel like I can bring to the farm, I would say, first of all, anything they need me to do, which is, they need a lot. Whether it's just kind of doing volunteer activities, that type of thing. But just given my background, I also think I can lend a hand in terms of the finance aspect of the farm operations and also fundraising.
Thank you. Questions from the board?
You wrote a children's book about Right Lock?
How did I forget that? Yeah.
We have tons of financial professionals in this town, but you might be the first children's book author that I've met. What inspired you to do that?
So, as I mentioned, there's conservation land behind the farm, the woods behind Right Lock. That's the name of the book. So I've walked my family, my dogs there for many, many years, and was just walking there one day and thinking about, how, what's a way that I could try to support the farm, give back to the farm, and this idea of writing a book, children's book, and then, having it published, printed, giving the copies to the farm, and then having them be able to sell and keep the proceeds. I thought that would be sort of an enduring way to support the farm. And so anytime they run out of books, they just give me a call and I'll print more and give them to them. So that was the thought. Again, it's a special place to me, so it's just looking for a way to support it.
I'm with Bill. It's the first I've seen, but I'm familiar with the book. I served on the board myself for 5 years.
Excellent.
And I saw you there Friday night, and I know you wrote the book. The board's going to need, be careful what you wish for. Like, you might be wiring electrical switches or replacing windows, but they do need hands-on folks. So thank you for your interest and for applying for the position. I don't know that I have any questions.
You're welcome.
Yeah, I just want to say thank you to Fred for applying. I think anybody that's been engaged with the farm in any way over the years knows Fred beyond what he did with the children's book is really kind of a special thing. But I think the farm, as Michelle was saying, you kind of have to be a jack of all trades when you're on the board, and I think that you'd be a perfect fit for that because you really understand through your own personal lens what the value of the farm is to the community. And so I know that this is a very short term that we would appoint you to, but hopefully you would continue on for longer at the farm as well if we were to appoint you. So thank you very much for your application. It's really would be a great asset to the community to have you. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. I had the same question as Bill about the book. I think that's great.
Great.
Thank you, Fred.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Dana, come on up.
I'm Dana Carlson. I live at 8 Parker Road. I'm relatively new to town. I've only lived here 3 years, but I'm already deeply entrenched. I'm a proud Lynchie. I volunteer for the schools, and my family hosts the block party every year. So professionally, I hold the position of philanthropic advisor at the law firm Nutter, McClellan and Fish. They've been around for 150 years and pride themselves on being a civic leader, which was what initially drew me to the role. At the firm, I support about 20 different philanthropic, charitable trusts and foundations. So I have a lot of experience with boards, helping them with strategic thinking and maximizing their impact and just general guidance. So I've been on that end of the spectrum, and I think that those skills will really transfer very nicely to the board at Right Lock Farm. Personally, I am deeply committed to environmental issues. I spent most of my career at an environmental foundation, grant-making foundation. So I have a lot of experience with sustainable agriculture and regenerative agriculture, food security and food sovereignty issues. So I bring a lot of knowledge to the table. when I was hired for my current position, I sold them on myself as, I told them I was a human Swiss Army knife. So when I hear you say that you need to be a jack of all trades, I can be that kind of person for the farm. I'm also a current volunteer there, so I feed the chickens, I've cleaned out the hives. Yeah, I love the farm, and it would be deeply meaningful for me to be able to serve it in that way.
Questions from the board?
So you do chicken chores?
I do do
Any other
chicken chores.
favorite things at the farm?
Well, I'm on a first-name basis with the goat Slim, so lots of...
They got new goats last week.
Yes,
Very exciting.
Nigerian dwarf goats, I think Chase and Sky. I haven't met them yet, but I'm pretty regularly at the farm doing the chicken chores, and I have a few shifts that I've signed up for the farmers market, so I'm usually there doing displays and helping them set up.
Nice.
I'm very familiar with the firm you work at, and if you can keep those people on the same page working together, that means a lot to me. I don't have to ask you any questions. I've been against them, so.
Oh, no.
Yes. But that is a testament to your ability, and that's why I'm not asking you any questions, because it tells me everything I need to know, positively.
Dana, thank you for applying. Certainly very highly qualified, and such a unique background, I think, would be really apropos for the farm. How do you think the farm can, and I know I'm putting you a little bit on the spot here, but how do you think the farm could really support food security locally? And the Right Lock Farm has become kind of a hub, not just for Winchester, but kind of for the region. As you know, I mean, there's families that come to the farm from all over. And do you think there's anything more the farm can do to really grow that part of their mission?
Yeah, thank you. I would be terrible for this position if I didn't walk into this interview with at least 10 different ideas that I'd want to implement. So one of those is I've learned just from my volunteer stints talking with some of the people that work at the farm. Adrian, the head farmer, says there's no grant writer at the farm. So I feel like that's a missed opportunity, and I have extensive experience in this area, grant writing and then reading on the other side. So I think that we can expand the work in food security by the CSA program, like applying for grants and getting more funding so that we can supplement some of the food that we send out to lower income families in the Winchester area. I think that'd be super helpful.
Thank you.
These are like the two most qualified candidates for a single board opening I've seen in like a year. So it's actually like amazing. So thank you for applying.
Yeah, of course.
How many positions do we appoint to this board?
3. Select Board appoints 3, Moderator appoints 3, and the Conservancy appoints 5 to Right Lock's board, which is 11 members.
And so they come up roughly 3 a year? Ish?
Yes. Well, 1 to us,
But
1 to the
from all the
moderator, but
different-
yes. Yes, some years have 4.
Right.
Do we have any
We're
clue?
just like doing some quick looks. Dana, thank you. You don't have to sit while we Google. I agree. We have not had a meeting where we've had such a wealth of candidates across positions and strength of candidates within positions. You guys are welcome to
Yeah,
stay.
you guys can stay if you want. We are going to deliberate.
Yeah, you're welcome to leave, but we're going to deliberate this position now. We're not going to wait until 9:15.
Right. I was going to ask that, but.
Yeah, sorry. Just to be clear.
So I think to the point of, I don't know if either of you know if they're fully at 11 and this is one open seat, but if the moderator has an appointment coming up, or the Conservancy itself, Conservancy seats, they changed it. It used to have to be Winchester residents. Now the Conservancy can appoint from outside town, but the moderator and select board need to appoint residents of the town. So if there's a moderator appointment or a Conservancy appointment coming up, whichever candidate we don't apply could certainly be in touch with the nominating committee to try to get on that way. It's not a back doorway, it's multiple doors onto the board. But we only have 3 at this table.
I think that's very good advice, and maybe Patty, if you're able to, whoever we don't appoint, if you're able to just provide them with a timeline of the other appointments, I think that would be great.
So I was
Mary
asked
Ellen's-
final
Yeah.
a person who's been on for a long time, and she said, well, we need new people. I said, well, unfortunately, you're gonna have to resign for new people to join. Because if there's no turnover.
And the best source of that is probably Mary Ellen, as to who's got what. So I'll make a motion, just to get conversation going if we wish. I move to appoint Fred Huber to the term to expire October 2026. I think, not that Dana is not immensely qualified, which she very much is. I know Fred's involvement has been long-term. I know the board would be thrilled to have him. I spoke with a couple of board members on Friday, and I would hope that Dana would be able to even volunteer as a grant writer if she wasn't even on the board, or find another way in. So that would be my preference, though it is no knock on our other candidate, who is tremendous.
Yeah, I would second that as well. Again, I think we all have said here, it's kind of an embarrassment of riches here, and we tend to get such great committed volunteers to the farm that really stay and have an impact in the community and grow the mission of the farm. And so I know Fred's been very engaged for a long period of time, and I know that and I've heard from some board members too that they kind of sought him for this position, and so I trust what they have to say, and I hope that we can make an effort to see what we can do to get Dana on as soon thereafter as possible, whether it be in another position or more formally to the board here, because it would be such a value to have both of them there and there at the same time.
Any further discussion, other members?
It sounds like there's a motion for Fred. I'll vote yes, because I want him, assuming you guys are as well, to have a unanimous vote. I will also say I would have gladly voted for Dana if somebody had made that motion first. I did like the skills she brought a lot. I don't want to cast a vote against a highly qualified candidate just to make that point, so I'll make that as a comment.
Yeah, I'm scrambling across our volunteers page to see if there's any position that Dana might be interested in, because I don't want to let her go. And if we can't get her on the Right Lock board right away.
Finance committee has openings.
It does. Field management has openings.
I think that goes in the category of a
Cultural
joke,
council has openings.
Oh, look at
These-
Audit committee has openings.
Yep.
we are
I do
not
think her
so-
skill set, particularly fits the farm. I mean, and I think would really benefit that.
I was
And,
thinking WinCam.
yeah.
Dana, I think I agree with, we have two really qualified candidates, and we could flip a coin and get the best candidate, and just by sheer, because it's 50-50, you both will be excellent. And we'd be happy to sort of collaborate with you on both. You have a lot of expertise that can be valuable to the farm, but if there's other ways that you want to get involved in town too, I think the members of this board would be happy to have your expertise in any other area, from the mundane to the far more exciting.
I would say we're begging you, please.
I'm so deeply called to the farm, it just feels like it's pretty in line with what I'm looking for.
But I think what Mike said is right, which is there's 10 seats, 7 we don't appoint. I think if we could have a discussion with the moderator and the farm board about that, that's the right approach, I think.
Actually have access to I have a spreadsheet for all committees and commissions. The moderator has 2 positions coming up next year, and they have 1 position this year. And all the terms are October 31st.
Yep.
So there is, the Conservative also has 2 positions.
Yeah, and maybe we can talk to Snea too. I mean, one of the, I know that we've had the board has expanded and contracted there over the years, and sometimes what we do is we add members to a board in order to say, up to, X amount. Doesn't mean that we have to always fill it. And I know we try to have odd numbers on boards, but I if case there's, votes, but I don't get the sense, and it hasn't been my experience, that the farm has a lot of contested close votes where that would really have an impact. I think in the case that would happen, that would be rare, and the benefit of having both Dana and Fred there supporting the farm, I think, would outweigh that substantially. So maybe we can do a little bit of work with SNEA and see if that's something that the farm has interest in.
Yep.
Like adding a seat.
Yeah.
I think that's a great idea.
Yeah.
So maybe we can, Andy, on behalf of the board,
Yeah.
sounds like you have unanimity to reach out to the board chair and if they'd add that additional seat.
I'm happy to take that on, and
Unless we want to have a quick race between them on the road and see who wins. I don't know.
I'm going with the person not in a knee brace.
Michael, that's nice of you.
all right, so it sounds like we're ready to vote on this, and then, but what I'll take back is I'll follow up with the chair of Right Lock's board, and we'll also follow up with you, Dana, too, if I know members of Climate Action Advisory, for instance, are very involved with some projects at the farm, with like the Fast Forest. You should talk to Ken, who's our sustainability director, and Carolyn Stott, who is sitting right in front of you, is on climate action. Yeah, so I think that would be good next step. So we'll loop back around on that. So we have a motion on the table. Are we ready to vote on that?
Yes.
Okay. All right. All in favor to appoint Fred Huber to the Right Lock Farm Conservancy?
Aye.
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 Congratulations, Fred, and Dan will follow up, and I look forward to both of your involvement at some level in the future.
Thank you. Thank you
Thank you
both.
both.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So we're gonna go a little out of order on our agenda, really briefly, to do the interfund borrowing, which is the last item on our agenda, but we have Ken and Stacy here, so that they are welcome to tip out after that.
Thank you very much for moving that up.
I'll do the easy part. We're here tonight because we need some cash. We have a borrowing authorization, but we need the cash before we can actually go to the market. And the way that we can do that is do an internal borrowing. There's a formula that we calculate to figure out what the max of our internal borrowing is, and we're well under that max. And in order to meet the federal credit deadline, we need to make a couple deposits before July 4th, which is before we go to the borrowing market. And so this internal borrowing will give us the cash to make those deposits, and then also be able to make any payments throughout the term. We're not going to borrow anything in July for this project. We're going to wait until March just to see how much we actually need as it gets going. So that's the financial part of it, but if there's any questions about the deposit part,
I
that's
think
why
Chris
Ken's
just
here.
went to go get the cash, so.
Oh, all right.
Yeah, so.
By the way, with the opening, we're here because we need some cash. It should just be like a standard
Get it,
opening.
Chris.
For
Cash
half,
bags in the office back there.
for like
We'll
half
bring
of
it
the
up.
people who come here, that should just be the opening.
Yeah. So we're borrowing from ourselves, basically, and not paying interest while we don't really know how much we need, what the deposit's going to entail, but we do need to cut the check before July 4th, but after June 30th, because we can't have an internal borrowing across the fiscal year. It has to be settled by June 30th, so this will be effective July 1 of 2026.
And this is for the solar panels that was voted at town
Yep.
meeting.
Stacy, you're going to know this better than anybody. What's the amount and where does it come from? Where does it go? So we make the motion correctly.
Yeah, it comes from our general cash, which is all of the non-restricted cash in our funds, which can range from special revenue funds, general fund. It's really from free cash in general. Yeah, I would just say it's from free cash. There's a calculation that says what's the lesser, what's more, free cash or a certain percentage of your total budget, and the free cash is higher than the certain percentage of our total budget, so we can use whatever's there. So this ask is for $1 million. It's sort of a rough estimate of what we're going to need for the deposits plus some to get us through March. And if we do find we need more, we can add to that. We'll have other internal borrowings throughout the year because we're going to the market in July and there's a lot of unknowns with some of the costs. So we'll borrow against ourselves again with a couple other projects, but we don't need it as urgently as now.
Yeah. So it's free cash to what fund?
Oh, it's going to the fund, the solar panel fund. So I've already created a fund specifically for the solar panel authorization, and that's $7.9 million, so we'll have a transfer from the general fund into the solar panel fund for $1 million. And then when we issue the debt, presumably in March,
Yeah.
we pay that $1 million off.
So sorry, and well, this is like quite administrative, but like, so I think this is an easy vote, but Ann's memo says 7%. The number you just asked for is double that, $1 million out of 8. It's not quite double, but it's 12.5, right? So is there a second payment that we would also need to make? Like, why are we moving $1 million?
No, this is $1 million for now, and it's going to get us through the March borrowing. We think there might be some costs that we're going to incur between now and March.
So the July 3rd, 7%, and then there's more.
Exactly.
Got it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
We don't know exactly what that and more is yet, but we figured we'd just get enough for now.
Just because it, like, 7% is like $500,000,
Yeah,
not $1 million.
yeah.
So, okay.
And this is something that we do from time to time,
Yeah.
right? This is
Yeah.
not really that
If we
irregular.
need
It's just-
cash
yeah.
to pay some of the vendors, because we're allowed to issue contracts, and we're allowed to, we could issue a contract for $7.9 million today, but we can't pay those bills unless we have the cash.
But just the other $500,000 we're going to put in there, you'll still get the same interest on it?
Yeah, because it's general fund money, so it's the same interest in that same pool, yep.
I'll move that we transfer $1 million from free cash to the solar panel fund for the purpose of paying necessary amounts for the installation of solar panels.
Second.
Can I make
you
a
okay with
friendly
that?
amendment?
That's what I was trying to
Yes,
ask you
yeah,
earlier.
to approve the internal borrowing in accordance with, I think it's on the form.
Articles 6 and 6 or whatever.
I don't have the form in front of me, I
Yeah,
apologize.
I wasn't kidding.
So is it,
All right,
Oh, yeah,
should I try
yeah.
it?
So-
Advance in lieu, the advance of funds in lieu of borrowing?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. You got it, Bill, or do you want me to read it? Okay, I move that we approve the advance of funds in lieu of borrowing in the amount of $1 million from the source free cash
Stacy?
to the solar panel fund.
I would, yeah, exactly.
Second.
Second. Okay. Any other additional discussion? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, great.
And I
Thank you both.
believe you have to sign it too,
Yeah,
but
I
that's
know.
at the end of the meeting. Okay. Thank you very much.
All right, thank
Thanks,
you.
Ken.
Well,
You guys can leave now, or you can stick around.
Well, I think
Do you
there's
wanna-
a few more things that I'm
No,
here for.
Stacy can't leave.
okay.
Sorry, Stacy.
Ken, you're up. All right, Rich, thank you for your patience on that, which I'm sure you understand. From sitting here for several years. All right, welcome.
Are we
everyone.
not having a Beacon Hill update?
Sorry, just holding on to my umbrella. We're gonna.
You can make up whatever you'd like, Rich. You might have way better news.
You might notice that Senator Lewis and Rep.
I
Day are
don't know if they
not
were
in the
calling
room.
in or if there was a presentation.
So we're gonna postpone that until they're
Yes.
available to join us.
Oh, it's just not happening today.
Yeah,
Not happening. Oh, okay.
sorry.
Just some time back.
Yeah, we got 20 minutes now.
You got gaining some time. This is great.
And as much as I like to hear Mr. Mucci's view of Beacon Hill, fair enough.
No, you don't.
Could be more colorful.
That was not actually an invitation.
Hi, everyone. Rich Mucci. Thank you all for indulging me tonight. I'm here on behalf of the Rotary Club of Winchester and truly on behalf of Jack Keene, who is the chair of the 100th Centennial Committee for the Rotary Club, who happens to be out on medical leave right now, so I'm filling in for him. I know he's watching at home. Jack's been a Rotarian for over 50, closing in on 55 years, I believe. The club is celebrating its 100th anniversary next April and started under Jack's leadership in 2021, 2022, looking at a 100th anniversary project for the town to commemorate the birthday. And over the course of those years, a committee was formed, studied various projects in and around Winchester, landed on a amphitheater behind the library, and Mike may remember this, it was on the Average Owner Initiative. There was a drawing years ago, back on another time, about putting that in as part of the Riverwalk that continues to be created, and the pond views continue to be updated and beautified. And this is just another step in that. So the club initially thought it was a fantastic idea back in '22 and started the process to see if they can make it a reality to donate that to the town. We have started with the library trustees. We have gone to Conservation Commission.
and really gotten great feedback from both organizations, both boards. And here I am tonight asking permission for us to donate the Rotary Amphitheater. And I know there was some photos and a memo in your packet, I hope, that you may have all looked at. But essentially what we're looking to do, and here are the pictures, and if it wasn't so dark, you could look outside, but behind the lawn where the town property is, we look to build an outdoor amphitheater, much like you see in Camden, Maine and around the area. It would consist of reclaimed granite, benches that would sit a stadium seating area that would fall into a brick paver stage that would be electrified and subbed out so that any performances would have electricity down there as needed. There would be landscape lighting in the granite benches, both on the sides and in the middle. And it really would be a gathering space for the town. If you know anything about Rotary, it's a place where they believe in service above self, but also fellowship. And Rotary has a long history in this town. I think almost every park has been led by Rotary efforts at some point in this town, whether it's the Town Common, Sheffalo Park, Mullen Field, Davidson Park, to name a few. So this is just another legacy project that Rotary would like to do on this town. Most recently, Rotary has created the Rotary Terrace at the Griffin Museum, which is a great community space that was pretty active over the last 2 weeks with various town events. We've helped and donated to the patio at Right Lock Farm, and the computer lab, the 3D printing lab at the library, at the high school. Those are probably some of our bigger projects over the last 10 years that I can remember. So the way this would work is the Rotary Club has retained Zen Associates to design this project and outfit and create plans. They are prepared to do the work. They've bid the project with Rotary. It's a $200,000 project. The club has the funds to go forward and pay for this privately and is prepared to get this done within the next few months while the weather is nice. It takes about 2 months to secure the granite. We did look into using some of the granite that was left over from the Middlesex Canal, but that is a no-go. So we will farm this granite and get that over the next 2 months, then set up a time with the library trustees to start construction in earnest in conjunction with the project already going on at the library. I've worked with Dave Coughlin from the Library Trust on this project. He's kind of spearheaded it for the trust. Been to several meetings and look forward to working with them, on their schedule in order to get this done that's feasible when the area becomes open again from the ongoing project. Rotary would contract with Zen. Rotary would manage Zen. Again, this is a landscape project that Rotary would like to donate to the town. And so I'm here tonight, kind of the last step in the process to kind of, as the select board, kind of get your permission as well, in addition to the boards that we've already gone to go forward with this project. Happy to show a couple other pictures. This will be the picture from Main Street. Again, those granite benches will be lit up with low landscape lighting, 3 across. Again, just some photos. The idea is you can spread blankets out on the grass. Chairs and things like that would go up above the benches. Just hopefully a space that the community can gather, whether it's Battle of the Bands, Shakespeare in the Park, speakers, story time. I know the library is excited to expand their program to use it. The library would manage the rentals for this as well and come up with policies and procedures to do it. Rotary would assist in some annual maintenance. I'm told that brick paver stage needs to be weeded probably about once a year. Rotary has volunteered, and there's a letter on file with the library to do that as a service project at least once a year. With that, I'm happy to answer questions, but that's pretty much why I'm here tonight. And I know the club's very excited about doing this. It was practically a unanimous vote to expend the $200,000 on this project, and look forward to making this happen in the next year, hopefully.
And you briefly mentioned, but Concom has also approved this?
Yeah, Concom. So we went to 2 meetings at Concom. They've approved it. Elaine Vreeling can send up some paperwork if needed to that effect. And the library trustees have voted to move forward with it as well.
And you mentioned, but we would be remiss if we didn't congratulate you on Citizen of the Year, which took place at the Rotary patio outside the Griffin Museum.
Thank you. Yeah.
Questions from the board?
Why can't everybody give us presentations like Rich here that address everything that we could possibly ask, I think, in advance? Seriously, Rich, you're not only demonstrating why you're Citizen of the Year, but what you've learned as being on the select board and how difficult sometimes it can be to get something done and doing it all in advance. This looks like something that should have been there for years now. So it's a great project. My question's not for you, it's just to the town manager. Can you just get town council to confirm what we all hope is true, that this is not subject to public bidding or prevailing wage issues? I hope it's not. I just want to see that in writing and
Yes.
just protect ourselves.
Preliminarily, it's fine, but I'm happy to get something in writing.
Yeah, great. That's the only question I would have.
Yeah, just in my involvement with the town, I know we've done this several times throughout the town. Most notably, most recently is the Bigelow basketball courts, I think was the last time that I can remember something like this, but absolutely. And again, it would be all Rotary doing it, and then after the work is done, we would come back and make sure that the town is satisfied to accept the donation.
So this is kind of a funny, you kind of approve the concept here, then when they build it, you accept it as a thing.
I'm sure it'll be great. I got a couple of questions. Who mows the grass, and how do you mow the grass between those concrete rows?
So my understanding is that library's landscaping plan will not be affected because they mow that grass area anyways. It may involve weed whacking around those, and that, again, is something that library has told us will be fine. What they don't do is weed, so that's why Rotary has committed to weeding that brick paver stage, which was a concern of Concom at least once a year, but certainly we're always looking for service projects, so we would certainly be willing to do that as many times as necessary.
And my other question is maybe for you, library, and the manager, which is, granite's not going to deteriorate quickly, but, the ground could settle, things could tip, those things are likely not going to break. Could the library policy on rental cover or put aside in some revolving fund, in some fund, replacement costs? Or shoring up? I can picture erosion, I can picture, just some of the grass not maintained, and all of a sudden it looks great today, and in 5 or 8 years it's like, God, it looks like hell. Why didn't we put money aside for maintenance? Not maintenance of the weed type, maintenance of the replacement / wear and tear. And it seems like that's not Rotary. You're donating it like, here it is done with a bow, but now we want to maintain it and have it look this good in 10 years. Can the library, as the caretakers and potentially collecting revenue, have a plan so that it doesn't become, I guess it could be a CPA project in the future too, if it's open space and recreation, but can there be some way to set aside money, given that we expect more usage and more traffic on that lawn? I don't know if you discussed that with library at all.
We did a little bit, and the Friends of the Library has funds that could be used for that. And as again, the club has a long history, but certainly there's always grant opportunities to come back. We've done that with some of our other projects to kind of fund some tender love and care to certainly some of the projects we've done in the past.
It'd be great when it's all wrapped up to know sort of what it might be, or even, we expect resodding every 5 years, like some sort of useful life kind of when you wrap it up would be great as the handoff. Not that we wouldn't accept it, not that I won't vote in favor of it. It looks great, but it'd be nice to see what that ongoing kind of care and cost is, albeit minimal maybe.
Sure.
Thanks, Anthea. And just want to say thank you, Rich, and please extend our appreciation to Rotary for this. This is really a sizable investment in the town. The Rotary always delivers high-quality projects, and so I have faith in that, especially these hardscape kind of projects. So it's appreciative, and really, it's really responding. Having infrastructure respond to a demand that's been there for quite a while. We use this space quite frequently in a very haphazard way, and this really creates a place, there for people to come to. And as we continue with the Aberjona initiative, I think really kind of kickstarts that. I also really like the design and how it complements the Center Falls Dam. Probably when you look from Main Street, right? It's very consistent with that. Zen Associates is, always very thoughtful that way. My only request to you, have we talked to the Disability Access Commission, about this as well? That's the only thing from the renderings there that I would say maybe the access issue to some of that seating, maybe it needs to be responded to a little bit.
Sure, we can speak to them.
Yep.
And I'll talk to Zen as well and just flag that. I know it came up a little bit and that they felt it was accessible just as it is now, but certainly we can.
Fair enough. Yep. Thank you very much.
Button that up.
Are you going to organize the Shakespeare on the Park going forward?
Are you going to perform in it?
No comment. But I will say Kathy Alexander is on the library trustees, and when I said that, she almost fell off her chair, so maybe she can organize a production.
Well, we did have a battle on the bands over there. Oh my God, jeez.
I thought we might have programming on Monday nights around 7:30, so to give you a little entertainment while you're in
Out
there.
there, nice.
A little music, a little background music for you.
So there was.
You don't want to lose viewership, though.
Right.
Well, we can afford it.
Friday night before town hall, there were a number of bands out there. It was great. When I was in high school, we used to come to Battle of the Bands over there in the Winchester, in the auditorium of the town hall, which has just really exemplary acoustics for high schoolers playing alternative music.
Yeah.
Right.
As you can only imagine.
Hard to imagine that it's actually worse than being outside.
Yeah. But I think.
But yet, here we are.
Here we are.
The designs look really nice, and appreciation to Rotary for considering this as a project to contribute to the town and contribute to the availability of space at the library.
Thank you.
Chris, do we need a vote to approve?
I think your past history is that you
Concept?
do.
Just like a consensus,
Concept,
yeah, like a concept vote.
Okay.
You just accept the concept as presented by Richard Mucci and the Rotary Club.
Move to accept the concept as presented by Richard Mucci in the Rotary Club.
Second, and extend our appreciation as well. If we,
Any
Yeah,
further
please.
discussion? All right, all those in favor?
Aye. Looks
Thank
great.
you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so you're sticking around for the next item
Okay.
a little bit.
Well, that's something, I'm going to put on a different hat now.
Yeah.
So I'm here as president of the Winchester Swim and Tennis Club, which I am president for the next couple of weeks. And we've, if you haven't noticed, we've built a new clubhouse, a new pickleball and tennis courts there over the last 2.5, 3 years. Last year, when we received our water bill in January, it was a little higher than we usually have. And I'll just educate you all that the water bill that's in question is for an irrigation system that's kind of next to our tennis courts. If you're driving on Johnson Road, you'll see some grass, to the right of our tennis courts. That's pretty much what this water is for, and the water fountain at the tennis courts. The pool is filled by, we have a well on site. The pool is filled by a well. Our irrigation around the clubhouse is with the well. We have a separate meter for the domestic water supply to the clubhouse. So this bill is only for a small area of irrigation and the water bubbler at the tennis courts. The way it's controlled is the water meter is actually in the parking lot in a manhole that DPW will physically come in and turn on in May. And then shut off in November. And that's when they do the manual read for the water, to build the water, which is billed out in January. So they came in November, they shut off the meter, we got the bill in January, and there was some type of issue. We did an inspection after realizing this when the weather cleared, after some consultation with DPW and contractors, because we had just finished the renovation, and it appears that some type of pipe in the parking lot underground had been leaking and was the cause of this spill. This is something that seeped out into the ground. It was unfortunate that we're not on the regular cycle like June, and getting a bill in July, in October. We may have caught it a little sooner because when it was turned on in May, but unfortunately we're not on that cycle. We're on that once-a-year cycle, so it kind of went unnoticed until we received the bill in January after it was shut off in November. We typically use about 120 cubic units of water in that area historically over the last 5 to 7 years, and this was significantly higher. So I did ask, after consultation with DPW, and asked for some type of mercy and abatement from the town. And I understand that given the amount, that's something that's not in the discretion of DPW, but would have to come before this board. Just about the Swim and Tennis Club, we have 360 families, about 1,300 individuals. We try to be a good steward of the land and try to help the town in certain areas. The 2 varsity tennis teams play at our club in the spring. We try to host events. We have a Friends of Rec event in September to raise money that we do not charge for as well. So we try to, we're a nonprofit, and we're looking just for some relief on this water bill if you would so indulge the request. Happy to answer any questions, but that's kind of the story.
And thank you, Rich. And we have a memo in our packets with a recommendation from the town manager with a few different options of abatement. So there's 3 options for adjustments, and it looks like your recommendation is option 3.
That's what Public Works recommended too.
Okay,
It waives
so
the
DPW
sewer fees,
recommends waiving the sewer
element of
fees.
it, and reduces the bill to $6,823, which is just the water, which did get used unfortunately, and the town had to pay for, so, but the sewer should be, this would waive the sewer element of that, so.
That would be appreciated. If that's recommendations adopted, we would make payment quickly.
So Chris, can you talk about how first tier adjustment, $3,400, second tier adjustment, $1,500, and the recommendation is a $9,700 adjustment. That's triple the adjusting it down to the first tier. So what was your thought process around?
So this came out
Settling at
of, so one of the reasons it's taken so long to get to all of you, because I had a couple of conversations with the DPW team. So what it comes down to is that there was clearly some water use, right? I mean, there was new, and that said, none of this went into the sewer system, right? So it shouldn't have impacted our sewer bills. The town has to pay MWRA. Water, though, it did affect. So the water was used. There was clearly an impact on water, but there was no impact on the sewer system. None of this went down the sewer system, as far as we're aware. It went into the ground, I guess, or trickled out into the pond at some point, but it didn't go into the sewer system. So the town didn't incur any additional theoretical expense on the sewer side. So after talking with Public Works, they came with that. And I said, okay, it seemed fair, and it seemed fiscally appropriate. Now, I don't know what your history is. This is the first time one of these has come to me of this size. The ones usually come in at like $100. And we usually just process them administratively. So I did ask them for a full memo, which you have, on all the detailed backup on it. So, but that's the rationale for it, is that it theoretically should not have impacted the sewer system, even though that's part of the bill, right? I guess it's not really an irrigation meter per se. You just have a meter for the whole facility.
We have several meters, and this one is for irrigation, but this 1 meter is in the street. So it gets turned on, it has to be turned on and off by DPW every year.
And yeah, so I don't know how the whole system pipes, but.
We do also have, with the renovation, we have flow meters that manage our outtake, that gets billed out as well. But this is something that was not part of the renovation, because it's just for irrigation and the water fountain.
So it was determined that there was a leak?
Yeah, we paid $7,000 to dig up the parking lot, and there was, they think, a leak. and one of the pipes may have cracked. They didn't really see anything, but they used that device to listen, and.
So does the problem still exist? I mean,
So
yeah.
we keep monitoring it,
Yep.
and we isolated, when they turned the water back on, the meter started running.
Yep.
And so they started to kind of go through the whole system, and they isolated it to underneath the parking lot, which is about a 15-foot run, maybe 20 feet run. Then we brought in a device, they listened, they thought they could hear some leak there, they dug it up, and they replaced that whole piping. That stopped the water meter from spinning, so. it
Oh, okay.
continues- So it's fixed now.
Okay.
There was an expense to the club.
Has DPW, I have two questions. Has DPW done some additional reads? Like, have they gone in and taken a look so that you can sort of validate that that's not?
They were involved with the contractor that did the repair. I don't know if they've done an actual read. I know our plumber has continuously opened up the manhole and made sure the meter was not spinning, so.
So you can see that the
we
meter
can see
is
it, yeah.
more regular?
In fact, I asked that be done last week, or 2 weeks ago, so.
Okay.
We are periodically checking it, yes.
My other question is just out of curiosity. It looks like in 1993, you also had a read of like 688. Do you know any history behind that?
I wasn't a member in 1973.
Rich, when you were in high school.
In eighth grade?
Eighth
No.
grade.
Sixth grade?
I don't know if there's any history to that. I was just looking at like, yes, in the previous years, it's been like
Yeah.
100 some, which.
I can tell you that the current pool was replaced in 2008. Before that, it was kind of like the Wild Wild West. There has always been a well on site, but I really can't speak to what that went to. The irrigation did not exist back then. That was something that was put in. Yeah. So I don't know what meter that is. There's, like I said, there's a couple of different meters that
Oh, okay.
that feed the facility, because it's just the way it is.
Yeah, I was just curious if like there had been at another point a leak that was resolved, but that is,
There-
very,
Yeah, when we were digging for the new clubhouse, there was all sorts of things we found back underneath everything. So I'm sure there could have been something.
Probably a lot of short-term solutions.
Well, I think this was a short-term solution that
Yeah.
kind of gave way. So now it's actually sleeved. It's been fitted with the proper piping. It was not the right piping, and kind of duct taped together underneath there.
Were you able to get a radio in there or can you get a radio in there so there's constant monitoring of your meter?
I don't know the answer to that. That's a good question. I don't know how exactly DPW does the read twice a year.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's by site or if there is a radio. I know the other ones that we have in the club are, but I don't know. It's a good question.
I asked because I had a leak in my irrigation system, and DPW called me about it because they figured it out before I did, because they were about to send me a pricey bill.
They did call us right before we received the bill in January to say you may have a leak. This seems a lot higher than usual. And I think that's a customary practice for everyone.
Yeah, but since you're only on that once a year
Yeah.
read,
Yeah, we're
how many months?
Right, we're a little bit more cognizant of it right now, and
Yeah.
just opening up that manhole and checking it physically. Like I said, every couple of weeks, especially early in the season, to make
Sure.
sure.
And because you're maybe cognizant of it, is the swimming tennis club in any sort of like financial hardship right now, given that you've just done all the work you did, or is there a difficulty? Oftentimes when people have water abatement petitions, it's because they have a financial hardship that makes it, and it gives them the inability to pay whatever's
Sure.
before them. And obviously this is still a big bill for any individual or group, but would this just decimate the coffers of the swimming tennis club, or could you just admit 2 or 3 more people and pay this off?
We really can't admit 2 or 3 more people.
I'm not on the wait list,
Yeah.
so I'm not like angling to get in.
Good idea.
I mean, it's a good
though,
question.
right? You know?
I mean, will it decimate the coffers? No. But do I think You know, we would have to pass it on to the membership, yes, because of just where we're at in this very moment in history, where we just did a special assessment. We just borrowed money and just used basically all of our savings to do the renovation to the clubhouse. We were on a plan, and quite frankly, didn't see a 16,000 irrigation water bill coming along. So we would have to pass it on, but I mean, financially, I wouldn't say it's going to drain the coffers, no. But it would be passed on to the members for next season, unfortunately.
I have a question.
Sure.
Which is, when you were on the board or Mike was on the board, do we, because I can picture I know my neighbor called with a pipe going across their lawn to the house behind, and there was a leak, and this house was getting charged. Do we normally, when it's a leak of delivery of water, have previous select boards and the town waived sewer, but not water? So I wonder if this is a precedent for the next person who says, I have a leak in my toilet or my sink and it's delivering water. And we say, okay, well, since it's not getting flushed down the toilet or adding to our stormwater, we'll waive this portion of the delivery and not the other. Have we done that before? Split the abatement into just delivery? I'm looking at you two, because
Yep.
I know I haven't.
No, I think it's just been
You're asking the applicant?
I mean, he
I
can
think we've-
answer.
We've focused just on the delivery of the water usage itself when we've done the abatements. Again, they don't typically come in this size, and we started this process of, we invested in this monitoring system, so you would get a phone call, if all of a sudden the meter went beyond a certain level, because we did have quite a few of them, and a lot of times it would be when people went away for the winter, snowbirds, and they'd come home and all of a sudden there had been a pipe that burst and there's been water damage, but also a giant bill. So yeah, that's what we focused on. But some of them, quite a few of them have been landscaping, irrigation lines that always break, and and I think management has the flexibility to do up to maybe $3,000 or so on their own without coming to us. I don't know what the number is.
yeah?
I think that's what.
I don't know. I haven't signed up for anything more than like $100, so.
Yeah. So I think in the past, some of these in recent years have been small enough that they haven't come to the board. They've been 2,000 or 3,000, and I think there's maybe that $3,000 cap or something like that, 2,500. I forget what it is.
We had one, remember, that was executive session, that they put them on a payment plan.
Yeah.
Maybe it was part of it, remember? 2018.
Was that the one that had been there for like 20 years?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's a different.
It sounds like this is consistent with the practice, I know what you're saying, that we're waiving delivery but not sewer.
That was what I remember. There
Yeah.
was one when I was on the board that I remember.
That was your question.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was.
And I think that's also, a unique situation, right? You're not like a single homeowner impacted who we're talking about. You're also talking about this impacts sort of based on how the membership is, right? It impacts your membership in some way as well.
So out of a desire to move us along, I will move that we accept management's recommendation for option 3.
Yeah, I'll second that. I'm just also curious. Can we have more regular checkups on their meter by the town?
And that'd be a good thing that we can bring back to DPW. It sounds like right now you guys have a way to monitor it, but I wonder if we do ask DPW to do a once a year.
I can work with Bob on that. Yeah, I mean, that's fine with us.
I mean, I don't know this from direct conversation, but it sounds like it's a meter in a very unusual place.
Yeah.
So it's not easy to read.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's lifting a manhole and
Yeah.
going down there and seeing what it says.
You could attach a radio to the meter, maybe.
All right, so let's tag that. We'll work with Chris and DPW and
Yep.
coordinate with Rich. Any discussion on the motion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
No, I'm not opposed.
Okay.
Any abstentions?
I'm not sure what I am. on
Do you
this
want to
one,
ask
but-
if there's abstention?
I'll abstain.
Okay.
I'm concerned about precedent, but I'm not going to vote it down.
All right, well,
I think the distinction here is one thing for me, that we weren't
I thought Mike said this
monitoring
is
as often as we
precedent,
were
but-
for other
all right, well, Rich, thank you
catch it.
for coming
you
to us
all.
with two different sides of the
you.
coin here, and appreciate it. All right, so, We will do a field policy update change, Nick and Michael. All right. In the efforts of holding the handle to my umbrella and knowing what the heck I'm talking about, and congratulations where congratulations are due. Nick just had a very
Congrats,
cute baby boy who I met
Andy, I got to meet him.
met at Battle of the Bands. So thank you guys for coming in. I know the background to this one, but if you want to give a background to the board of the field policy update.
Yeah, so Michael is the chair of field management joining me tonight. So our precedent, what we do every year is we reevaluate our fees and our policy. As part of the bylaws, we review them. This past review, we noticed that there's a little bit of maybe fees left out since we've redone the Bigelow courts at Manchester. And we wanted to look at that and make sure that the fees were both equitable and fair. And as part of that, what we noticed is that a lot of the in-town groups that do rent out Bigelow courts, usually it's like a WBA type of organization, are paying much more for a small amount of use than what our big organizations are using for fields, right? Because we charge $12 per participant per entire season, and that could be hundreds of hours of fields use for things like youth soccer, youth softball, baseball. And their bills were coming in very similar to a week-long program that WBA was using the entire courts down at Manchester. So we looked at it and said, well, this is a unique facility that we have in town. There's nothing quite like it. So how about we look at creating a different fee schedule for this facility? And that's what you have in front of you with the proposal. If you, in your packets, you should have highlighted in the permit fee schedule is rather than use the Bigelow courts, the court fees, which is typically $25 an hour per court for in-town groups, and I think it's $40 for out-of-town groups. We looked at the courts as if you wanted to rent out the entire facility, let's create a fee structure for that. So that's what we did. As we do with most of the things in town, the public schools and rec department, we have the no charge, and it kind of has the fees going down and increasing for out-of-town or profit groups, and more favorable for in-town groups like we would with any other fields or park or facility spaces that field management oversees. So I can go over them real quick. Tier 2, which is our 90% Winchester youth groups, would be $50 per hour for the rental. Non-Winchester residents, we put it at $125 per hour.
Should Tier 4 be 150 or 50?
We went with 125.
Tier 4.
Trying to think why we decided that fee.
Because all the other ones go up, right? That one steps down for Tier 4.
Oh, Tier 4, because those are all adult. Oh, that's also Winchester groups. Tier 4.
Okay.
Yeah, so we wanted to give the same rate for the adult groups that we would their kids that are in town. So we wanted to give that the same kind of a fee.
Yeah, I think but the question is, Tier 2 and Tier 4 are both in town.
Yep.
But with all the other facilities here, Tier 4 is still more expensive than Tier 2. So Knowlton is $150 on Tier 2, $200 on Tier 4. So why are we keeping the same price with the Manchester courts from Tier 2 up to Tier 4?
So I think, is that just because you do precedent for like high school youth sports team use on Tier 1, Tier 2? The basketball court is not,
But like for every other one, it just goes up sequentially, or it's the same. This one is the only one that steps down from tier 3 to tier 4.
Yeah, it's a good point. I mean, I guess,
I'm just looking at, I'm
in our
literally looking at
discussion,
the pattern of the numbers.
yeah,
I'm
no,
not even thinking about
You're
the
correct.
actual.
I think in our thinking at field management, we were looking at it as, you know, if there was an adult basketball group that was predominantly Winchester that wanted to rent out the entire courts, we wanted to make sure it was affordable, because I think we're leaning towards that. There's a lot of adult leagues that are popping up.
It's on the heels of the new program that we
That's
just
fine. That's fine. You might actually look at cutting tier 4 across the board.
That's
by the
probably
way.
a better discussion rather than,
Or collapse tier 4 into tier 2.
it could be a good discussion for our next field management committee meeting. But I think that's we wanted to keep the in-town groups, you know, more affordable. So I think for the future, we might want to look at tier 4 across the board. It's a really good recommendation.
Just combine it into tier 2.
Yep.
So then yeah. That's actually what you're saying.
And then, of course, the tier 5 is the highest one, and that's the for-profit groups that are coming in from out of town or in-town for-profit groups. And there really is no break on that. It's still $25 per hour per court, so.
So Nick, these are all, the 50, 125, 150 are all, what is it, 4 or 5 courts?
5 courts, including the shade structure, if you're gonna rent out the entire facility.
So for $50 an hour, you can get all 5 courts as an adult league, or a casual one-time user, or is that $50 for a court? I'm looking at tier 4.
Tier 4 would be $50 for the entire facility per hour. So if you're running, you know, 3 hours a night, 2 nights a week for a 10-week league, it's still a considerable amount of money that's coming in. Most of the groups that do rent out the whole thing are looking at clinics, right? So, for instance, YBA runs a 3-day clinic. They're there for almost 8 hours a day for 3 days. Brings in considerable amount of revenue. The upkeeps of the court are not as high as what we would have on grass fields. So we were trying to look at that as being equitable, as well as having, instead of them paying thousands of dollars for a 3-day rental, we wanted to be a little bit more affordable.
I don't have any other questions.
Given the current use of all of these groups, you expect to cover your costs, you expect to be able to make, it'll cover for any custodial and upkeep, so that's factored into what you have here in all the tiers, given just your past pattern of utilization. Okay.
Yeah, it's really minimal. The groups that use it, there's not a lot of upkeep there.
Yeah.
The trash collection is kind of already factored into that whole entire complex. The primary group that's been using it too, like I said, WBA, they put a lot of money into the field, into the courts when
Oh,
there's
yeah, to
crack
begin with.
repair. They just recently repaired a bunch of cracks there this spring. That looks great.
Do you need a motion from us? Move to approve and adopt the proposed field permit fee schedule for the Manchester courts as presented by the Recreation Department in their memo to the board this evening.
Second.
Okay, any discussion?
Just want to say thank you guys for, and Nick, Michael, for always looking at fees and to continue to support new programs and to support our facilities. So it's, I know it's a lot of work to kind of come up with these, but it's, these are very fair and make sense, and I think we'll keep revenue coming in. So thank you. Appreciate it.
And I want to say thanks for, because I know the scheduling and managing all the demand is not the easiest, Nick, so thanks for keeping a handle on that. Got to say no to some people and yes to others, so thanks for doing it. Thanks for being here, Michael.
Awesome. Thank you, everyone.
I think we need to vote.
We gotta take the vote.
That's right.
That's right. We have a motion in a second.
Let's hear it again. All those in favor?
Aye. Can I steal 10 seconds while we have Nick here? 10 seconds, literally.
10.
Can we follow up on this Leonard Field issue? I'm getting the complaint like all the time. You've been involved in that. Chris, I've sent emails and Anthea on it. Yeah. So this is, we put $500,000 in that last summer. Anthea cut the ribbon. A bunch of us were there. It's getting slammed, and we got to do something.
Can I just jump in right now? We've brought.
Chair's okay with that.
I got videos. I did a count on Saturday. You've got the data.
Yeah, so we've been tasked to kind of come up with some plans down there, and so I thought it was since field management oversees parks, fields, and upkeeps a playground, we brought it up at our last field management committee meeting. We had some good discussion points on it. And then we in fact decided to have a second round of discussions to see where we want to go with it. So I think most of the members are very engaged in it, and they wanted time to think about what the next steps were in terms of policy and what we could put into our field management policy, and wanted some time to ping other people, residents, whatnot, and bring back some data for the next meeting. So field management is working on the back end, but yeah, it's definitely something that we need to kind of move forward.
Okay. I would just ask that you
Yeah,
bring it.
we'll follow up.
Because are you still liaison to field management? Great, Mike, okay, yeah.
Yes, I am.
We had a question that came out of the last field management meeting, and perhaps you could offer us some advice to lend to our consideration. We were debating as one option whether we had the ability to contract with a group that is obviously pressuring, in this case, a playground. And in addition to setting guidelines, is it possible to set up a contract situation where they contribute to the cost of a unique playground? We weren't sure where that stood.
I mean,
You can contract for anything.
yeah, if we're using Manchester, but Bigelow Courts as a public entity that we allow people to lease for certain amounts of time, I don't see why it would be any different. And there certainly is wear, tear, and liability concerns with the organization.
I think that Mike, as your liaison, I think can chase down a very technical question with manager and council, but broadly, the answer to that would be yes.
Yes.
Yeah, we had that discussion last meeting, and so I think
Right.
it's just kind of the way to do it and the outreach that we need to do to present that, because I think it's just, it's not just the wear and tear, it's the volume of people at
crowds
certain
out
times. It
other
crowds
kids.
out, the kids that, it was really, I mean, it's for all kids, right? But I mean, I think if it's being used in that way. So we'll continue to talk about that in field management and come up with a solution, right, Nick?
Yeah.
Yeah, Michael,
Very
yep.
kindly. Appreciate the advice.
Yeah.
Thank you, everyone, for
Call
your
me if you
time.
want the video.
You know what I do?
I'll forward it to you.
We're building
Congrats, man.
we're building a playground book. That would be a great addition.
I'll forward you the data.
We are at 9:09. Have you heard from?
Yeah, I'll forward you the email, then I'll send the link. I actually took video on a Saturday.
Maybe we could just ping her an email? Because we have about,
Spent a half an hour and watched it.
maybe about half an hour left in our,
15 minutes.
sort of our other agenda items.
Do you want to go to the next one? Or are you
Yeah.
going to do HT?
Thank you, guys.
Next one's me, that's what I'm
No,
asking.
so we're gonna do, this kind of, there's a lot of Paris?
No, it's just one item for me.
Okay,
I'm just doing number 7.
all right, so.
I'm doing 9.
9. And then, okay, and we have 8. Did we have an update on 8? All right, let's start with 7.
Okay. 7's the only one I'm happy to contribute on the other ones, because I'm familiar with them, but it's the only one I'm prepared to present. So number 7, we, just to give everyone the history, so this is other post-employment benefits. This is primarily to say this kind of publicly and on the record. I think the board is very well aware of every piece of this. This is an aspect that we've been looking at for a long time via State of the Town, and then since February, so for about 4 months as the Select Board. As Michelle noted to me today, it was included in all the State of the Town documents in the long-form report. There was about a page on it. In the memo that we all signed, we had written, I'll read the quote, reviewing the retiree health insurance benefits provided by the town, including Medicare Part B benefits and overall level of premium support, with the goal of bending the cost curve over time. And that was the vote we had taken on February 12th unanimously in public session. So since then, we've all obviously met a number of times in executive session. We've articulated, and this is in the deck, 3 goals, which is to bend the curve on expenses, the current pay out of our town budget, to mitigate the overall liability, ensure it can be funded over time, and what we have to put away once the pension is paid off next year in FY 2028. So that could create some space in the operating budget, because we have to pre-fund less, and then to minimize or greatly reduce the impact on existing retirees. Those were the goals the board had laid out at the beginning of this discussion. That was, it's worth noting, articulated in a letter that this board wrote to ahead of a tri-board meeting to the Finance Committee, the School Committee, and the Retirement Health Insurance Advisory Committee, the RHIAC. on April 29th. And so we had articulated those 3 goals and said that we were going to continue to analyze what we wanted to do around OPEB as part of our broader fiscal analysis. So the deck that is in the packet goes through all the analysis that we've done. Again, the board is very well aware of this because we've talked about it extensively. There are 600 members currently who receive Medicare premiums, 605 who are in the Part B group. We currently pay 70% of the premiums, and in addition, we pay 50% of the Part B. We are allowed to reduce the 70% to a statutory minimum of 50%, and Part B is an elective benefit that we provide that none of our peer towns beyond Lexington currently provide. So that's purely an elective contribution. We discovered as part of that analysis that the town actually never accepted the local option, what's called 9E, that allowed us to go over 50%. So we did have some work to do to bring us in alignment with statute, and that was what council advised us to do as we took a look at this. And so we discussed the annual cash spend. It's grown 66% over the last 6 years. That's an annual growth rate of 8.8%. The comptroller has modeled the growth rate going forward at 7.75%. So obviously way above our Prop 2.5 plus new growth 3%. So it's one of the things, since it's a large cost item and it's growing at 8 to 9%, it is adding a fair bit of pressure to our budget, not dissimilarly from our health insurance, which is growing obviously 14%, but it's also in that top category of things growing really fast on a big number, so putting real pressure on our budget. The board looked at 4 different options, which I don't need to belabor. They're in the packet on page 6, and then ultimately deliberated and concluded that we were comfortable moving all existing retirees to 50%, and for that population, increasing their Plan B to $200 from a bit over $100 today to $200. So what that would do for our existing retirees, they would go from $101 to $200. So it would hold them basically economically flat. For future retirees, we would go to the 50% and then not have a level of Part B support. Again, we sort of have to go to the 50% because of the town's legal authority under state law is we have not accepted the ability to go above 50%. And then the second piece, again, Part B is elective, and I think the view of the board was we would not provide that for future retirees as of August 1st, 2026. And all of these changes would take effect on January 1st of this upcoming year. So what this allows us to do is to take the existing population, effectively hold them harmless economically. One number goes down, the other number comes up to meet it, to fix that number at $200 of support for existing retirees, to not provide the Part B on a go-forward basis, which would allow us over a multi-decade period to phase out the Part B support. So I think the view of this board was to have a conversation about this in public, to present these concepts, to vote on them publicly. I think we voted on them privately, but to vote on them publicly. And then at the same time, publish this information in a memo to the RHIAC, to the school committee, and to the finance committee. People wondering why school committee. 2/3 of the retirees are former employees in the schools department. And then we would instruct the town manager to notify the affected parties of the choices that the board would make. What is the last part of the deck is all of our very deep analysis done by Odyssey. I think everybody on the board knows this, but just to say it on camera, a lot of advice from specialized labor council, a lot of advice from our healthcare consultant, and a lot of advice from our actuarial firm, Odyssey, that's done all of the analysis. So obviously, very technical area, guided extensively by our long-term consultants in the space.
I will just add, I think it's important, having been involved in this in 2012 when changes were made. There was a lot of, I went back and read State of the Town, various reports and letters last week in advance of listening sessions. So we've been talking about OPEB, we've been talking about areas to really get on a path to fund the liability in 25 years and 30 years. Our pension's nearly paid off. This gets us on a path for consistent contributions for retirees, for premium shifts and splits being what the town has endorsed, and trying to hold current retirees harmless and not put an extraneous burden on them where they've retired with an expected contribution, an expected cost, trying to make up that difference with Medicare Part B and trying to be very thoughtful for those retirees as well. I think all of the pieces in the presentation of looking at costs, aligning with some, comparable communities, where do our benefits fit, as well as let's not do this in such a way that we think it is ripping something away. We think we're stabilizing the outlay for our retirees, and it was a very thoughtful and deliberate process to do so. So happy to vote on that tonight, but hours of work had stayed to the town. It was in our letter to residents before the override, and I'm happy to see us making some movement. What changes we might put in place today, plan design is something that the select board can always look at, but I think this is an important step in the right direction.
Thank you, Michelle, who's the deep 14-year expert on this topic, I'll say. It's been a long time that you've been looking at this one, including extensive dialogue with the Department of Revenue 14 years ago. I just wanted to flag for the board, and it's marked with a massive draft sticker on it for a reason. Just for the sake of, we talked about this on the 1st at our goal setting, that the board had asked Michelle and I to sort of come back with a little more of a package, because we were canceling the interim meeting on the 8th. This is a letter, obviously no pride of authorship, that the board could vote to release. Very consistent with the April 29th letter. It just, the bottom half of it gives the actual decisions that we could make. Obviously, you can consider those in bracket because we haven't voted on anything, but provided we vote on what we've been talking about tonight. We could send something like this in the next couple of days just to let the community know, and at the same time, obviously, Chris would have to notify the affected parties. And then there's a timeline you can see in the deck, which is on page 8, that gives us, some time before the August 1st date where really the cutover occurs in case there's any feedback to take that into account.
If I could just, I'm with everybody on all things. One thing that I've looked in, except for the paragraph 5 piece about the change in the drug plan. So I've done more investigation, including meeting with our Blue Cross Blue Shield representative and my representative, and went in depth as much as I was able to. Got formularies, and I have some concerns about how this might impact retirees, and there's a lot of unanswered questions, partly because it turns out that this proposed option is of extremely limited use, the one that was presented to us by our healthcare rep. I now have enough materials for our healthcare rep to do some analysis to come back to us and say, well, what does this really mean? Because and again, I'm not an expert at this, but there were things that seem to be shifting. The way it was presented and some of the information I've seen do not match. So I think the impact on retirees might be more significant than was initially presented in a way that I don't know.
I just want to be clear, you're talking about the 5-tier.
Just the 5-tier.
Just the 5-tier.
Just the 5-tier.
Which is
the rest of this is well thought out and very smart and exactly the way to go. It's the 5-tier that I have growing concerns about. I've asked for other alternatives.
So I just want to clarify for folks watching. So what we're talking about tonight is the same topic that was addressed, a dozen years ago, which is premium, and since then, premium sharing in Part B, the level of support we're providing. That is what we've been analyzing for months, and we're talking about tonight. There was a discussion, and it's public, because we talked about it before town meeting, of changing the way that the prescription benefits are covered, which is more, I think it's fair to say, novel, right? And it sounds like you're saying that it may be challenging to implement those, right? So
yes.
That the board can, I think, based on your recommendation with Ken Lombardi, potentially pull that one back.
I just want to lay that out publicly. So we're still looking at it, and we have the materials to give back to Ken and his team to do some more analysis. But
and that would impact existing retirees or existing employees, right?
Yeah,
So,
no, but just retirees, right? It's just retirees. Yeah. But I want to get a little.
Stripe that. We just wouldn't put that letter in because we have more work to do. It sounds like, or this paragraph in the letter would come out.
Yeah, I mean, I know, I mean, we've explored, I've been exploring it, I don't think, so we're still exploring it, but I wouldn't.
You could either strike
More
this
information.
paragraph.
You can just strike that, or you could just change it, the
Or
board's.
you could write the board is continuing to explore the
Yes.
impact on retirees.
That's fair.
Because we did take that vote and it
You
wasn't
did.
out.
It's fact, what's written is factual.
Yes, correct.
And you could add an additional fact, or you could take it out. I'll
Yeah.
defer the board.
I'm just recommending that a little bit before we leap all the way over to actually implementing it, we have a little more conversation.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a little bit different of an impact, you know, because it's on existing retirees, right? So and I think what we've been trying to do is really look towards the future as far as the impact. I think that's what we all agreed to.
I think that's right. I think that's well said, Mike, 'cause that's one of our key goals. And I think the hope was that this would, because it would change the co-pays, but also cut people's premiums, that it wouldn't have that impact, and we could put some in mitigation. If that's just not going to work, then I think, you know.
It's becoming more challenging, and again, I've had some conversation with Stacy, a little bit about Stacy with this. Right now, we pay premiums once a year. I mean, so the potential impact on retirees could be very front-loaded in a way that we might not be able to mitigate in a way that's reasonable for us.
So my recommendation, I think we've done a lot of work on premium sharing in Part B. I think, that's the main item for tonight. My recommendation to the board and to Chris is that within the next month, you come back on 5-tier, which, let's be clear, we've been talking about premium sharing Part B for the whole year. 5-tier kind of came up to us in April for the very first time. And it was potentially something really innovative. I think the flip side of innovative is that it hasn't been as well tested. So it may be in the board's interest to kick that out a year at the least to continue to explore.
Yeah, I think it came out of a conversation with our consultants of how do we save, more money through policy without impacting retirees. And so maybe now if that's on a little bit shakier ground, then it's worth, kicking it down the road a little bit.
There's more research to be done.
Yeah,
The other side, this is the other stuff. I mean, to be clear, I'm underscoring is rock solid. Okay, the Part B, the premiums. That's been very well researched, and the whole goal is to secure and protect current retirees while bending the curve for the future with giving people notice. I mean,
Yeah, so I think to Mike's point and to Pars's point, let's update, if we make this vote tonight, let's update the letter to talk about continuing to explore. And let's get an update in July or August as some of these changes may be socialized and maybe live. If there is prescription drug benefit program design changes on the near horizon, on the, a year from now, let's have additional data and options for this board to consider.
Yep.
Whether or not we can, make the change in January, but what is happening? Because if it's not a proven, there isn't enough adoption in history, are there other options that we could adopt?
Can you make the necessary motion, Paris? Since you know this better
I
than me.
can, yeah. So I would move that the select board move all existing and future retirees to a 50% premium sharing level, consistent with the town's existing legal authorities and accepted local options, that we increase existing retiree coverage for Medicare Part B to $200 and fix the figure at $200, and that we do not provide Medicare Part B support for all retirees beyond the date of August 1st, 2026.
Second.
Can I make a friendly amendment to that of, just to clarify, in the motion, that it is for all retirees who retire after August 1st, 2026?
For all retirees who retire after August 1st, 2026, and who are Medicare eligible.
Who are on the Medicare plan.
Yeah, and who are on the Medicare plan.
Right, yeah.
And it's $200 a month.
Correct.
Put the month in there.
$200 per month, correct. From $100, $109 a month to $200 a month. Do you want me to redo that? Okay. Yes?
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah, if you can.
If you have to ask, then you do it.
Yes, okay. So I move that we move all existing and future retirees to a 50% premium sharing level, consistent with the town's existing legal authorities and accepted local options, that we increase Medicare Part B premium support, plan support, to $200 per month, and that we do not provide Medicare Part B support for any retirees, any employees who retire after August 1st, 2026.
Second.
And that this applies to the Medicare plans.
Second.
Thank you.
Stacy, we're good? All right, any discussion? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So,
And let's get this retiree health insurance committee formed up or noticed or.
So
Motion on the-
Stephanie Minyarji was appointed by the school committee. Jon Snow was appointed by FinCom. So and then school committee gave us the name of their employee, but they said, can you not say it on camera because she's on vacation and we haven't told her yet until like Thursday. And then Chris, I think you had an employee as well. So with those two employees, the RHIAC is at quorum.
Okay. And will manager's office take the lead on scheduling that?
Sure. And then in terms of this letter, we can strike paragraph 5 or we can amend it. What do people prefer?
I'd prefer striking it just because I think it creates a little bit more anxiety than necessary.
Perfect.
Going to the retiree, I mean, advisory committee, right? So
It's just going to create fear when something may change. Okay, and then
But we did this, didn't we?
we did, but it's on shaky ground. So the question
And
is,
so if we have to take an action in the future, people should know what we already did and that we need to take some sort of future action so they don't get blindsided.
but we didn't, maybe we can bring up the vote. I don't think that was the vote to adopt the 5-tier plan?
Yeah.
It was.
yeah.
But
Well, what we
have
can
new information though.
But I
and that's
think-
the difference.
I think we were still at that time when we voted it, we knew that we didn't have a full picture of information.
Correct. So I guess, I mean, the board could vote right now to say, we're the ones who voted on that. So we could vote right now to say, we don't want to include it, right? Pending, because there's more information coming, which I think kind of a version of what Mike is saying.
Yeah, and we'll wait for further recommendation from management.
Right. Like, let me put it this way, like, we voted it 5-0. Like, it sounds like there's a lot more questions about it now than there were 3 months ago, right? Or 2 months ago even. So I'm comfortable removing that, and then if somebody asks, we can always say, yes, there was a vote on that, but that's under review, right? I mean, is that, I don't know if we can like straw poll, like, is it fair to say we're all considering that vote under review? I mean,
Yes.
I would be.
Right.
Yes.
Right. I think we're all considering that we need more information before that program can take effect, and that was at the time why.
So Bill, do you want to like a vote on that right now? That like we're presently reviewing our April 27th vote?
Yeah, I think until that vote is changed, we should not hide our history.
Okay.
And we should either tell folks that that vote was taken, as we have here, and admit that it is under continued review, or we vote right now to rescind our vote from.
No, I wouldn't do that. It's a little drastic. I would say, I would move that the board adopt as its indication to the community its language around the 5-tier prescription drug program as under review pending more analysis from the town manager.
Second.
Any discussion on that one?
I like it.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. So I'll just, and any other edits, maybe if people could send to me and Anthea, do people like the idea of we put out the letter on April 29th, it just documents it? Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. All right.
I mean, other than that edit, I think this is something that should go out as soon as possible.
Yeah, it's dated tomorrow, so we'll try.
May I review the draft?
Of course.
Oh,
No,
heck yes.
you can't see it. It's top secret. Thank you, Michelle, and especially Paris for putting this together. I know this has been a long road. It looks like it's a short memo, but it is a lot of work, a lot of analysis, and appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Mike.
So one update before we move on the agenda. Michelle Bergstrom is not available to call in. Patty has reached back out to her on sort of polling for some availability. My general understanding is that she has a conflict on Monday evenings between 7 and 9, and so I think it would be hard for us to say we're going to wait until the 29th or have a quick meeting next week on the 22nd. So we can get some availability from Patty, but it would also be that we would want to interview her and take a vote at that time around our appointments. Does that
Yeah, that's fine.
sound more or less accurate? Do we think also, can we, she probably hasn't got back to you.
Yeah, she hasn't.
I mean, but she's not going to be available during 7 to 9 next Monday either.
Right, yeah, I just said that.
So-
We're not meeting next Monday, but, so we can check
29th.
with her on schedule, and, you know, if she gets back to us, we can meet
Anytime, I mean,
as early as Thursday.
I won't
see what
be
she
here
says.
Thursday.
Yeah.
Just be-
Oh, I can't do Thursday, but because the holiday on.
I mean, honestly, I feel like I've interviewed Ms. Bergstrom a handful of times, and her record on the Housing Partnership Board is, you know, pretty clear and well documented. I don't need an interview to make a decision here. If she was somebody who I had no clue who she was, it'd be different, but I think we're all very familiar with her.
Yeah, but I think it's a different board, and it's a new application. And I think it's only fair to give her a chance to be interviewed, even if that's for 5 minutes.
Yeah, I think it's a little, why don't we see what we hear back? If everyone can stay tuned for a doodle, tomorrow, so if we need to schedule something, get a short meeting stood up, like for Thursday, we could do that.
And we did get 20 minutes back from agenda item 3, so we kind of have a lot of time on our schedules.
But is it going to be before the end of the week?
We can try before the end of the week.
No, I want to know right now, is it going to be before
We'll have to see
Friday,
what
the
Michelle
holiday
said.
on
I don't know what
Friday?
her schedule is, you
And
know.
I do know that someone else wants to run the meeting, so we'll not be here on Thursday, and we're not here on Friday.
So
Okay,
is
so
it-
we will, so I think when we can figure that out on tomorrow and just figuring out timing. I do want to say that I think,
I can't do Wednesday night, by the way.
okay. I think we can make one appointment, because we have 2 open positions. We've interviewed 3 people. If people are comfortable making,
If the board is comfortable doing that, I would make
Why don't we
a
just
motion.
do it all at once? You know, let's hear her and just have the discussion and just do it all at once.
Well, because there might be a meeting as early as Wednesday. And I think that we need to start moving forward with this, and we can fill 1 seat and be better operating as is. So,
I'd prefer to do 2 at
Yeah.
the same time, because I think people are going to start throwing out names. I have a strong opinion about
Yeah.
someone who I will speak to why I won't advance that person, and I want to consider them all as 4 individuals.
my opinion is, I'll make a motion right now unless you can guarantee that this is going to be resolved by the end of the week.
you'll make a motion.
I'll make a motion to appoint someone, and if it's seconded, we'll vote. But if you can guarantee that we're going to have a meeting before Friday, because that's Juneteenth, I won't make a motion.
Got it. I can't guarantee anybody else's schedule.
Sorry, meaning the board schedules or the applicant?
The applicant schedules.
But I think you can offer the applicant an opportunity. I don't think we have to offer an infinite number of opportunities. So I think if you decide, for example, that we're going to convene on Thursday afternoon, you know, because I'm not free Wednesday, I'm out of town, and then personally, and then tomorrow is not inside of 24 hours. Like if you just make it a reasonable time on Thursday, for example, that I think is a fair, you sort of give 2 chances, right? And then the main thing though is like we have to interview the applicant for 10 minutes. We also have to talk among ourselves.
Right, and that's why I was saying, do we want to appoint one but then I'm,
But if we're already reconvening again, it's fine to, I think, talk about them all together.
so why don't we say, we would have to meet on Zoom, of the assumption that Monday, I mean, we could offer like, and I'm not looking at my calendar, so I'm just saying this without actually looking at my calendar, like Thursday or Tuesday of next week at like some hour between 5 and 8 p.m. based on availability and
I think that's fair.
I'm not available Tuesday morning.
PM, 5 and 8 p.m.
Yeah.
And-
I am
oh.
not available between 5 and 8 a.m. on Tuesday.
Wait, sorry, we're talking about tomorrow, Tuesday?
Thursday, June 18th, between 5 and 8 p.m., or Tuesday, June
I can't do between 5 and 8 p.m. on Thursday.
23rd, between 5 and 8 p.m. Okay,
I could do 4 p.m.
4 p.m.
On which day?
with Thursday.
Thursday.
I could do 5
So
as well.
can everybody do Tuesday, June 23rd from 5 to 9?
No.
So you said-
I
No.
really need to be, even on Zoom, I need to be after 6.
Okay. What days are we available after 6 o'clock?
I could do 6 on Zoom. I could do
On
6
Zoom, on
Zoom
Zoom.
or live on Thursday.
I could do 8 p.m. on Thursday on Zoom.
Okay. And on any availability on Tuesday, the 23rd?
No.
None. Any availability for people at 6 on Monday, the 22nd? I think that would be the only other option.
I don't think so.
What did we just come across, Thursday at 8?
Thursday at 8.
We check on Thursday at 8. I'm happy to do whatever I need to do on Zoom.
Yeah, second.
I can make the Zoom go. I'm not a very good note taker, but I can make the Zoom work.
Well, you just, I will send it to record.
Oh, yeah, right, that's fine. That's true.
So we'll go from there, and we will keep everyone posted.
But if the applicant's not available Thursday at 8, what are we going to do about these other applicants? Are we still meeting on Thursday at 8 to make an appointment?
Can someone see if she's available quickly? I think I'm comfortable offering another opportunity. I don't think we have to provide an infinite number of opportunities. 2 evenings in a single week is pretty good. My guess is if
Yeah,
she
a
can
couple
make it.
opportunities is fine,
So we'll propose Thursday at 8, and why don't we plan to post a meeting on Zoom for Thursday at 8? Does that work for everybody here to zoom in? All right. We all right, so, I think we've lost the 20 minutes, Mike was just thinking.
My bad.
So 2 things we did want to talk about, the residential exemption and just revisiting that, which we had spoken about a lot during State of the Town and in advance of the override with the idea that at the time of the override passed, that's something that we would bring back around. I think that's something, and I think we're hearing more and more, and since Affordable Housing Trust has been the, sort of one of the big items on our agenda tonight, really resonates around affordability, especially at the lower end of the spectrum there in terms of tax rates. Of bringing the residential exemption back to our table, thinking of what additional information we need right now, if that's something we wanted to take a vote on, and knowing that the assessor has asked if we're going to do that. Well, it's a vote in, November, essentially, by this board, that he would appreciate having a longer lead time because of what's needed to set up in terms of sort of management systems there.
Yeah, I think we've talked about it quite a bit, and the state of the town, and also at this table. And thank you for Patty for putting some of that information back into our packet today. I personally don't have any other questions about it, but if anybody else does, I think now is the time to get those questions out and have the assessor here at our next meeting. If there isn't anything else left to answer, start to move forward with it, because we have heard and we have seen that it takes more time than I think we appreciate to get some of these things set up. And going from November to January 1st is not sufficient lead time. So if we can take that vote sooner than later, and I would propose doing it next meeting or the meeting after, that gives both the assessor time to get his plan together, get the necessary forms out and published, educate the public. And the only question I would want answered from town council is, do we then have to reaffirm it in November, or would a vote now in June, July be sufficient? I mean, it seems to be like everyone is in agreement that there should be some exemption put in place. The question is just what percentage. But that is what we should debate and discuss next meeting and vote on it, either next meeting or the meeting after.
So under the category of new information, like 5-tier pharmacy benefits, I was poking around again in the run-up to listening sessions and long-term financial planning, and came across this article from May 4th in the Concord Bridge. Concord, which adopted residential tax exemption as 2023, has created a task force to revisit the residential tax exemption. 3 of the task members want to phase it out over the next 2 to 3 years. It has created divisiveness in the town. It's a political third rail. They are revisiting having made the vote in the first place. If there are lessons to be learned, I think we need to reach out to Concord. I think we need to understand what has happened. There's 2 stories on this very recently, and it came up, I think, in their local election, but it was implemented in 2023, and by 2025, a task force of the select board was created to revisit the impact and the rollout, and should they pause, should they wind down, or should they continue? So if that was the comparable community for us that put it in before a large debt exclusion, and a community of single-family primary residences, not a single family of vacation homes, I would like the manager to reach out to Concord's manager. We have a guy helping in the office who was Concord's CFO, but I did not expect to stumble over this when I was looking at long-term financial planning. But there are 2 articles from the recent several months on how they're revisiting the entirety of it. And that to me is different from what I might have, where I was in August, or what would make me think I want to implement that here. So that would be new information for me.
No, that's just
And
part of the research.
I'm happy to send the article if you'd like.
Could you
That
please?
would be helpful.
Yeah.
'Cause I'm
Or
not-
Chris, why don't I send it to you, the links, and then you can distribute to the group?
Sure. There could be many, many reasons why that's happening, but we should look into them.
Yeah.
If I were to follow up, I can find out who the right people to talk to.
Yeah, isn't that where Anthony came from? Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that predated him there, but I'll ask.
Yeah, I'm friends with the moderator over there too. I can talk to her about it.
The select board member that I had spoken to in Concord, I agree with Michelle, we need to research this more. The issue that happened was there was a reassessment of Concord has some extremely high value properties that occurred right on top of this, and that it put a sort of extra burden on them. And her view at the time was this task force was going to study it and think about ways to better communicate and that kind of stuff. And she said she thought it was extremely unlikely they would recommend repeal. I think that is not what's fully happened, right? It has come back more mixed. Maybe it survives, but it didn't come back kind of the slam dunk. So I think that it's worth talking to them to figure out what's going on. I can give you guys the name, Chris. I can give you the name of the select board member who was super helpful in the rollout. And then I also spoke to the assessor, who was also very helpful, but that's more on the implementation side. I'll text you her name.
So we're all going to do our research and bring some back for our next meeting?
Yeah, I think the other thing that would be helpful, and I know we have it in State of the Town, but I don't have the memory of which specific deck it was. Paris probably does.
Which
It's-
it works from 5 deck? Yeah. No.
Yeah, it's just, I think we had something that looked at the different percentages of residential exemption, and that would be helpful to.
It's in the packet.
That's in the packet
Yeah,
today.
it's in the packet.
Oh, that's why it was.
That was, yeah, and
Covered rows and
Alright.
arcs.
yeah. So and it was, there's different levels of override in there. The person who actually has the model from this, so I have the model from the
Yeah.
assessor, and then Mariano has the version of it that allows you to easily toggle. So I can get that from him and give it to Anthea, you or whomever, so you can play with it. It is based on 2020. This is based on the mill rate 1107, which will change. So it's 1 year out of date. The data is 1 year out of date. It's directionally the same though.
Oh, you did it out to 1.5% CPA, right?
Yeah, CPA is on there.
So,
All right, great. Anything else? Preferably request for resources that are already available.
And then ask just to follow again, can you just ask him how much more we have to set aside for the overlay? Because he was concerned about us not having enough money for the maintenance.
right.
So he called her and help her the additional appropriation we have to fund at the bottom.
All right.
Stacy, you want to
Write
join
checks
us?
to each other? We just can't people write checks to each other and exchange money?
Last item?
Bag
Yep.
of cash? Yeah, okay. Long-term financial planning. Welcome back, Stacy.
Thank you.
Paris, Michelle, Stacy, and Chris, I think you met about this today.
Yes.
Take it away.
So I'm going to run with this one. We met today. Chris had also sent all of us information from Arlington, and there's a memo sort of related to long-term financial planning, which is kind of State of Town 2.0, but perhaps less frequent meetings, slightly smaller group, but a similar goal of long-range financial planning. So we looked at, well, first we want to talk about the work. So we have to actually, out of the gate, let's agree on assumptions, and let's agree on the model. There's the model that we have, there's the model that Arlington uses, there's the model that the town manager and the comptroller use. We need to settle on the specific source document that we'll use and agree on assumptions and sort of baseline agreements. So we made some changes potentially with OPEB this evening. There were some changes at Springtown meeting. There were usages of free cash at Springtown meeting. We need to update all of that and agree on the tool. And we would hope to bring in the school committee and finance committee and select board, and we'll talk about membership in a minute. If we could fully evolve this to what some other towns have done, Hingham did this in their override, Arlington has done this. There's a real predictability to overrides happening with some frequency of every 3 to 4 years. Money being, this much money will last this long, these kinds of growth rates and targets. I don't think we're there yet to say we will have this limit on municipal growth, this limit on school growth. We'll have an override in 2027 that will last until 2030, but we have to start the work until we have to actually understand where we could grow and what our sort of burn rates are, what our revenue picture looks like before we could make any such commitments to the voters, to the other bodies, to town meeting, and to FinCom. So we are hoping to establish a long-range financial planning group to meet about every other month. We were thinking that the group would include 2 members of the select board, one of whom should chair this group, 2 members of the finance committee, 2 members of the school committee, potentially a member of the planning board or a member of the capital planning committee, and then by virtue of their office, the comptroller, the town manager, the director of finance for the school department, and the superintendent. The group would meet every other month. We would need to develop a standing agenda of what are we looking at, but the goal would be how is revenue coming in, like Stacy's comptroller report this evening? What pressures are occurring in the budget? What good news are we having? What bad news are we having? It could be a contract went out for bus transportation. It came in 30% higher than we thought. We had a change in enrollment and demographics. That means we may be able to shift certain resources around, or we have a higher demand for resources in schools or at DPW. So this group will be looking at not just the money coming in, but the expenses being made and anything that we're learning as news, with the goal that if we have unexpected news, if we set a target, municipal grows by 3.2%, but there's a surprise in health insurance, there's a surprise in workers' comp, there's a surprise in snow and ice. The long-term financial planning group can actually elevate that to the full select board, to the finance committee, to the school committee in a tri-board meeting, or we could develop rules and protocols around when you need to break the glass, these are the triggers that allow you to break the glass. And breaking glass might mean you go to spring or fall town meeting and you adjust current year budgets, or you go to spring and fall town meeting and you adjust next year's budgets to the extent that you have to, or you make updates and changes and inform town meeting. So select board would like to convene this group. We'd like to get volunteers. I think FinCom gave us a volunteer, Paris, is that right? Am I making that up? Is that Hafiz potentially?
That was OPEB.
That was OPEB.
I think that this has been given to them, like the previous version of this memo was given to them, and I think they said they think it's a good idea, but I don't think they
we don't have people yet, but
they named anyone.
the hope would be to convene it as the select board, get it started over the summer. Then I'm going to kick this to Stacy and Chris, and to really have the manager probably own the model with the comptroller and really run with this to the extent that it's the manager's budget every February that goes out, informed by the superintendent's budget at the end of every January, but to be having these meetings throughout the year so we don't wait for a January budget summit and the manager has as informed assumptions and actual realities of the budget before he publishes it. So Chris, I know you have some experience with this in Cohasset, and maybe your conversations in Arlington, you can illuminate other kind of implementation things that I'm not thinking about right now.
So one of the things is that all the boards kind of commit to this, all right? So that this is not just an academic exercise, that we'll commit to the end of it. Here's the revenue target. This is the way the budget will be built. And they're again talking about break the glass. There could be changes. Things can happen. Things can happen to the good or the bad. But this process has to be that everyone buys into it, and that we have honest, frank conversations. And then perhaps during the process to keep everybody engaged. Maybe one meeting the school committee does their presentation, and another one the finance committee members, and another one the select board members, with the staff backing up all of that, right? So that everyone is pulling their share of the conversations during the discussions. And then, again, how to mix, again, I'm open to any of these things, right? Because we want to evolve a model that works for Winchester. Maybe the big group, if you want to have that big group meet, set some big goals, and the smaller group does the work, and then at the end, the big group endorses the work that came out of it and said, yes, we all agree, we're going forward on this, right? I mean, you may not like it, but numbers are numbers, right? And we got to live with them. And I think fiscal discipline is critically important. I think this last cycle, and again, I was only there at the very end of it, but we did get to town meeting and have a budget that everyone came around on. It was hard, but that's the kind of process that should happen. There should be honest conversations at town meeting, but there shouldn't be surprise changes. We should go with everyone saying, yep, this is it. This is where we have to be.
So the goal would be for select board to convene, manager to be very much involved, and not just do it as, for this budget year, but really persist and develop a culture of doing so. And at some point, maybe turn it over into the manager's, committee, or the manager convenes the long-term financial planning committee. But for now, we think it needs to be select board kind of driven. And we want to put our sort of, weight and support behind it, and hope it can become just part of our budget building culture going forward.
Yeah, and just to add to the conversation is that I do think it's important to have targets coming from the top and have some sort of agreement as far as the growth is concerned, because Chris can present his budget, the select board might not agree with the growth levels, and where do you go from there? You give it to FinCom, and then it sort of blows up a bit. So I do appreciate some sort of guideline as far as this is how much the town side should grow, this is how much the school should grow, have that conversation up front with the groups. And engagement's key. We've had these budget summit meetings. We might not have had the full boards, but we've had these meetings. The fall, we start September, October, November, we try to schedule the meetings, we get people to come, but they don't engage, and we just talk about some of the revenue projections and how we finish the year, all important stuff, but the participants weren't really engaged. So I think having agenda items saying that, next meeting, come to us with your ideas, and like Chris said, or even you said, any targets that have been blown up, a sped student comes in, costs a little more money, we didn't anticipate, or bus contracts come in a lot higher, trash disposal contracts, recycling, we're not getting paid to recycle anymore, we now have to pay, like that sort of thing happened several years ago, so those types of things do happen.
No, I'm thinking trash is a good example of us the last couple of years. So,
Yep.
and is that persisting? Do we have to live with that reality for 1 year or 3 years? Can we go back out to bid and get a different trash vendor? We have to live with this bus contract for 1 year or 3 years. So we have to live with the reality of good or bad, but what levers do we have, or where can we remedy? And at what time frame?
And communication, just the sooner we know we have a problem, the better off we can react to it.
Yeah, thank you very much, Michelle. I think what Stacy said is exactly true. In the past, when we've had these, we didn't call them tri-board meetings, but we
Call them budget summits.
Budget summits, and we met with the same, and every year we would try to start them earlier to be more effective, but we didn't have a structure in place, and so it was kind of just talking around issues without any real deliverables, and that is, I think, what has kept it from being really successful and led to these surprises, come up, which just build resentment between the different boards and committees. So I think having this structure kind of formally in place for years to come, the only thing that I would say to some of the boards and committees that are going to place representatives on it is, maybe it's not your chair or somebody that's, managing the heaviest budget or doing something, because it's, scheduling can be tough, and it tends to be all of the same people that you're trying to schedule, and they're just overbooked, so that's the only
That's a
thing.
good point.
Yeah.
So maybe they should be budget curious, but maybe not involved in budget adjacent. But to your point about the chair, who might get, dragged into everything, on some other boards, like I'm in 6 other meetings in a week.
Yes.
Not that they can't, but let's be
Depends on
mindful
which
of
one.
who can
FinCom will
who can
probably
come.
want to send the vice
But
chair.
please
chair.
come with you want to actually understand the math.
Yeah.
Well, schools has a budget
I think you guys are
subcommittee.
preaching to the choir about this.
Well, we just need to sort of, we need to kind of formalize
I
it
have a
tonight
couple-
and make
Yes.
sure it makes sense.
And the only suggestion I would make, I think you mentioned the superintendent being ex officio, but he's not listed here in the memo as being one. Instead, it's town manager, comptroller, and the director of finance for the schools.
Okay.
That puts the voting number at 10. Would we want to up the at-large individuals to 2 so that we have an odd number for the sake of breaking a vote?
Our ex officios voting members?
Yeah, we weren't thinking that there's a lot of votes out of the group, and yes, we could increase the at-large members as well.
So I-
Because, let me finish my thought, please. One, for the sake of time, ex officio members usually have the same rights as everybody else. The ex officio is just, they're on the board because of the position they hold otherwise. But to your point a second ago about people being overcommitted, I see these at-large individuals with significant experience in municipal finance to probably be some of the most important and best workhorses that this committee could have, because they're gonna have more experience than any of us, bluntly, when it comes to financing. They're gonna have more time than us, hopefully, and they're not gonna be tied to whatever body that they're coming from. So getting another person on there for that purpose, on top of breaking a vote, seems to be something that is worth consideration.
And so just, it seems like there's a question of whether the ex officio members are were intended to be voting members or not.
So I wouldn't.
I'm not a voting member on many of the boards that I'm ex officio.
I think these are observer, they're just observer members or whatever.
Yeah,
So,
but I'll accept whatever you.
so I would say my view would be no. The staff shouldn't be. I had 2 edits. I would say just at-large individuals with significant experience in municipal finance, and just to be appointed by the select board. So I think the select board should just retain the flexibility to appoint the number it wants. And then I agree, to select board. FinCom will probably send their chair or vice chair. My guess, school committee will probably send their budget sub, if I had to guess, but it's their choice. And then I would say just have any number that the select board wants to pick for the at-large. And then I think the planning board observer, and Michelle and I had drafted this in the first place, but in terms of having the planning board in there, I think upon reflection, my view, and I don't want to speak for others, is that maybe that's better, that observer is better to be capital planning than the planning board. Because the planning board does help guide the long-term revenue profile of the town. That said, their core duties are unlikely to be influenced by mere participation in this body. In terms of saying, oh, we're going to take a more growth-oriented posture, I think that's more likely to come from the select board talking to them much more directly. So I see less need for them upon, reflecting on it. And I would give that observer member to the capital planning committee.
I agree with the capital planning comment. With the at-large individuals, I think it still has to have a number on it. I'd say at least 2. One, no more than 3.
One, no more than 3.
Yeah, if you had 3, then they could be reappointed for 3-year terms, one every 3 years. So you have some staggering that allows for some.
I like your optimism.
Well, then part of it is also, listen, maybe this is just me. I think a lot of our boards are just bloated, and putting too many people on a board just bogs down scheduling, and you don't get the conversations done in an efficient manner. I think that these at-large individuals are very, very important, and they should be the core of this group. So I want to have them, but I don't want to be sitting here and being like, oh, great, we have 7 applicants. Let's just put them all on there. I don't think that's going to be productive. And it's hard for us to say no to people. But if we have a number, we can say no.
1 to 3.
1 to 3 is good.
So 1 to 3, switch planning board to capital planning, ex officio with no votes,
As superintendent.
add superintendent.
Super, yep.
And unless there's any other edits, I'm super happy with that. And if you want to vote.
I think we do.
Yep.
I move to approve the creation of the Long-Range Financial Planning Committee as laid out in the memo in our packet with the edits just discussed.
Second.
Okay, additional discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Thank you, Paris. Thanks, everybody.
And
So
before
we'll just
mov-
need to work on.
Yeah.
Kind of convening, but also identifying a position posting.
And the only other part is the process. So do you want to have again, we'll use the tri-board to mean the 3 big committees, right? Finance, school, and select board. At the beginning of this process to help set the goals, or do you want to have them come in at the end to validate the goals?
When do we have a tri-board
Yeah, I
meeting
was gonna say, you
on the
have
calendar?
some on the calendar for us, right?
I like the idea of at least setting the goals or getting some feedback on the goals.
Sure.
It can still be within the smaller cohort of this is truly where we're going to focus, or they're going to, sequence the goals. But I wouldn't mind it being informed by all, not just the one representative or the 2.
Yeah.
So I would
I just
say,
don't know when we can
because we're
pull
going to
that
get the
off.
feedback anyway, whether so we might as well do it in advance.
I would say the immediate next steps are distributing this to a cleaned up version, which I can send everybody.
All the chairs.
To school committee, FinCom,
Yeah, this is
and capital planning.
It's not, what I called tri-board is not what I was thinking, so.
Yeah, but I would say we have to get this around to everybody. I would say getting the position description for the at-large written
Posted.
would be one. I would suggest the select board think about appointing a chair, in short order to sort of get the guts of this moving. I don't think you can wait until October to get this going.
I think maybe again, I understand summers are hard, or is that, maybe?
I think
So
you
I-
should just get moving.
Well, why don't we have to get it out there.
Right.
We have to post the position description. I think could aim for having one meeting in the summer that just gets everyone together, but I'm anticipating that timing wise, if you want to include that municipal person, and based on our schedule, which I'm trying to peek at. based on our schedule, maybe we could do that on the 13th, but likely might be a later meeting. It might be the second meeting in July.
My only, I mean, it's ultimately for this board to choose what they want to do. My only observation to you is that if this is something you could create over a 3-month or 4-month period in a typical year, because they're going to start working on the long-range model, which is going to give you a 3 or 4 year view, and then in January, February, you have the tri-board process basically take the FY28 piece of it and implement. If this board is considering an override based on the feedback of the survey and everyone's views on this matter, next spring, for example, and this is going to be a vehicle to update the model, the planning, get everybody on the same page, I would not wait until the fall to get it going. It depends on how the 4 of you want to use this committee in its inaugural year. Because as Michelle said at the beginning, it's word for word the same title in Arlington is the body that did the analytics. Of course, the select board picked the number, the town manager wrote the letter, and then all the bodies independently voted on their commitments. But they used this as the vehicle by which to do the work.
Yep.
As they have for 20 years, by the way.
Sure. In your research bringing this forward, did you guys find, can you point me in the direction of the work product that came out of, say, the Arlington committee or the Andover committee? And were their meetings recorded, and are they available on YouTube to just watch how they've been functioning and what they've been doing?
I don't know. So the answer not is no. They meet formally, but it's a kind of semi behind the scenes process. I mean, it's not secret, but they don't do that, and they kind of reach consensus on this stuff because they've been doing it a long time. I don't know what they were like 20 years ago. I don't know if they were more battling, but now they don't. I know it was a little different. I think they operate differently.
Yeah, we can get you work product, Bill. I don't know about Zoom. I didn't try to look for recordings, but we can definitely get you product out of.
Yeah, what I sent.
Shrewsbury, Andover. Arlington.
Yeah. If the meetings were
I
recorded
didn't mean
or
this to be
not.
trial.
I don't think you're going to find them recorded. Some are more town manager driven, some are more committee driven. But again, this model is driven more by Arlington's, which is obviously very driven by staff, provides a lot of the analysis, but it does have this body that spans all of the committees. And they're the ones who actually kept debating the number, kept briefing the select board, and they are the ones who made the number, the recommendation of the number for the override, and the select board adopted that number.
That's great.
Which is basically how it's worked.
There might be some on DVD though, if you wanted to look into that.
I got a VHS player in my basement.
The deck Chris provided though from Arlington, I mean the model actually, if you look through the model, while has 20 years of overrides built into it, it's actually very similar to our model.
Yeah.
Their deck though that Chris got from the town manager there is excellent, so I would recommend everyone read that.
I think I've read that, but.
Yeah, it's one he sent on Friday.
Yeah, I just sent it on Friday.
Yeah. Okay.
So,
By the way, I could bring him. I could try to import somebody over the border one night. We can sneak over the border.
Posting for a meeting?
for a new position.
No, what we can do is just pretty much take, like the purpose in the first area here, and, you really need to be detailed on the experience the person is that you're looking for, persons. I've got, I found this out in posting for the active position, and I was getting people that really weren't tied to what the actual responsibility was for. So,
There were
Roger gave me some information, so I think that this is really, you need to be clear and simple with what type of person that you're looking for to apply.
Just to not make this, this is going to take forever if people have to bring it. Does the board want to have one person,
I was
take
gonna
it
say,
past
if
Michelle
someone can-
maybe, or I can work with you on it.
Tailor that from the
Yeah,
top of the
happy to.
memo and just to add an articulation and,
Michelle's got it.
yeah, and send it. Then Patty can post it and then we can vote that on the 13th, July 13th. And
We could vote it on the 29th, no?
Oh, no, it needs to
No,
be 15 days.
Post the position.
We could vote the language, but post it.
Oh, I don't know if
Yes,
that do we want to vote the language to post?
The
Oh, no, you don't
language
need
of the
to. The language
posting
is
is
the
so
No,
technical.
Yeah, that's right, okay.
So we can post it and then get applications and vote
Yeah.
the
I
applications.
think Michelle and I just wrote the language for the State of the Town
Yeah.
at-large posting
Okay.
ourselves.
Yeah, we
Yes,
probably
yeah,
actually
just do
use-
that.
That's right.
recycle that a little bit. And then that way, maybe you can meet more than once before September, but
I think we have to
it's not an
try.
area of optimism that I hold.
But I think if there's I mean, again, I'm just being very practical, like if one of the jobs is to design and maintain a multi-year financial model, like, and you point out large members and they spend some time with Stacy, I can transition the State of the Town model to them with Michelle, with Chris, like that is very valuable to do, right? 'Cause-
Yeah, that's where they'd have to get up to speed,
yeah.
but yeah.
All right, sounds good.
Next item?
That is the last item, technically. We have a consent agenda, so can we vote that last item? on
I
consent?
had a question about that last item there. I heard from some folks there was some concerns about it.
Yeah, hang
Yeah.
on one second.
Yeah.
Patty,
I'm gonna take off, thank you guys.
thank
Thank
you,
you.
Stacey.
Take care.
Do they have the appropriate license?
They have the certificate, I mean,
You said they don't have the,
so because they do not have the C12, it ended up on the agenda.
okay.
And so, they gave the information the appropriate information that Jen requires to apply for the 1 day.
Okay.
So sense, answer,
Okay.
And when did that come in? That was,
that came in today.
What are we talking about?
I don't know.
The last,
So to I was trying to clarify to make sure that was on the agenda appropriately. The last item on the consent agenda for Gregory Cedrone for Seven Saws Brewing Company, June 22nd, 2026 at the Sanborn House is what we're talking about. This is, from my understanding, and maybe you've heard
Yep.
similarly, an event following the Ambrose fifth grade moving on ceremony for families
so kids will be there.
at Ambrose.
Yeah.
So it sounds like kids will be there. My understanding, and I don't know about the other schools, is that Morocco may be doing something similar at Sons of Italy, but they don't.
they were, yes,
But they don't
they were advised to.
need
Yeah.
a specific one-day license.
So Jen also did run this by Jen Murphy,
Yeah.
and she didn't have an issue with it, but I don't,
Really?
yeah.
Just had a lot of concerns from
Concerns.
people about the, booze-focused event with, kids being there, right? It's, you sometimes, we approve fundraisers for parents, for schools, right? That's different, but this is directly after the Ambrose graduation and everybody's gonna be walking over. So it's gonna be a lot of kids there, so maybe we ask them to look into an alternative, ice cream truck or something like that, and maybe.
This is, what's the date of this?
June 22nd.
So it's a week from today.
It just came in today.
You can,
Yep.
if we want, and we can talk to Jen Murphy or the coalition, and have someone, is this organized through the Ambrose PTO? It's presumably not the public school itself.
No.
Right. Is that correct? It's the Ambrose PTO?
PTO.
We could have a rep from the PTO, we could have a rep from the coalition, they could be invited, they don't have to come. And someone from the health department, you could say, if you want to come talk to us about it.
Meeting
'cause
on
we're meeting on
Thursday.
Thursday.
Meeting on Thursday.
Yeah, so it'll be Thursday night they can come. So it's not the PTO, it's the parents,
Right, so
fifth
it's
grade
like-
parents.
That's great, yeah, it's,
So, I mean, because PTO is the whole school.
yeah. They have, the PTO would have a fifth grade committee representative, most likely, who would be the point person on that.
If somebody else is doing it at a restaurant, right, which is Sons of Italy sort of as a club, I suppose you should say, that's also valuable information. Obviously, they don't need a one-day license because they have a permanent license, but I don't think we should be consent agending items that we have substantive questions on. That's not what the consent agenda is for.
Yeah, and it just walked in today, you know.
So you can,
I think otherwise we would have people here, you know, talking about it rather than texting us, you
Didn't
know.
realize it walked in today, so, okay. We're posted for Thursday, I guess, whatever information we can get.
Put that on for Thursday, and can we reach out to the applicant there?
She had personally had the conversation with with Greg.
Right, but can,
This is his company.
yeah, so, but we should be able to reach out to whoever has put this event on. Maybe we need to find out who that is, but, to invite them to that meeting, and then we could connect with, Jen Murphy and with the coalition. Just confirm.
I think they should have an opportunity to come and tell us what they think.
Okay.
I move that we approve the consent agenda for all items minus the final item, which we will reconvene on Thursday.
Final item being Gregory Cedrone for 7 Saws Brewing Company, June 22nd, 2026 at the Sanborn House, 1 day liquor license.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
I do have one more note, though.
Well, sorry, I have another note too. We will discuss that on Thursday. You have another note?
Yes, the town manager review process needs to start. The packet included the review form that we used last time around. If you have any suggested edits to that form, please get them to me in the next 7 days, so I can make them and give a revised form at the next meeting. Because we need to distribute that and start the whole process, and we should all 5 of us should have a chance to complete it and submit it. Chris, that includes you too, if you have any feedback on the form, because it's about you.
Second thing is we have a listening session on Wednesday at 4. I am unable to attend.
I think Patty's gonna support it,
Yeah.
but anybody else wants to join me?
Anyone else wants to join? The first one was very interesting. We had 8 people, which seemed small, but I had a hard stop after an hour, and I don't know how long you kept going, but I think
About 8:38, so we went a little over 90 minutes. It was, the job is note-taking, really, and
Pretty-
teeing up questions.
pretty informative. So if someone is able to attend, that's here. And then we have another one scheduled for
Tuesday, the 23rd, via Zoom. And I gave that flyer to the Jenks to try to see if seniors for both the in-person at 4 or potentially Zoom, if there's accessibility kinds of questions, we have that option. Thank you, Patty, for getting on that on the 23rd.
All right. Motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, everybody. I am going to find my umbrella. We have things to